Chapter 4100. How could this be? In the secret chamber, those who saw this scene were shocked. Each and every one of them had a look of disbelief on their faces. It was impossible for 5,000 reinforcements to appear out of thin air. They would definitely have used the passage, but they hadn't received any news beforehand. The answer was obvious. It's the sky crystal mineral vein. It's really the sky crystal mineral vein, Ubushin exclaimed in a low voice. His mood had changed drastically and he was no longer as calm and composed as before. There really is a sky crystal mineral vein there. That damned Zi-Chen actually deceived all of us. Everyone was furious. Zi-Chen had played them for a fool. Among them, Yubuhuai's expression was the ugliest. Previously, he had solemnly stated that the two sealed areas were just a cover for Zi-Chen. His purpose was to delay everyone's progress. He had never expected that Zi-Chen would actually discover a sky crystal mineral vein right under their noses. Even if the mineral vein was discovered, how did Zi-Chen know the method to transport sky crystals? The leader said indifferently, "How much time did we spend trying to find this method? How long has it been since the Holy Thunder clan arrived here? How did they know?" Everyone's expressions changed once again. Then, they looked around with scrutinizing eyes. Perhaps there was a spy in the clan. For a moment, the atmosphere in the room became stifling. If there really was a spy, then the secret of this place might have already been exposed. They had been played like monkeys by Zi-Chen. Perhaps he guessed it. At that moment, Ubushin suddenly spoke. Zi-Chen went out twice. I believe that regardless of whether it was Zi-Chen or anyone else, they would have some guesses about our precise teleportation. Since he could even find the sky crystal mineral vein, it wouldn't be difficult for him to find the difference between the two. Everyone's attention fell on Ubushin. Ubushin continued. There is no need for us to be suspicious of each other at this time. The most important question now is what should we do about this mineral vein? Everyone was silent, but everyone's expressions kept changing. A team of 5,000 people has already left the mine and headed straight for the depths. At this moment, I believe that the mine is empty. In fact, from this point alone, it is not all bad for us. At the very least, Zi-Chen didn't know of our existence from the beginning to the end. He didn't know that we were watching his every move. Ubutian said, "Our secret hasn't actually been exposed. This also proves that no one told on us. It's very likely that Zi-Chen discovered it himself. After all, he's the one who found the soul-gathering crystal mine." Ubutian looked at his leader and asked, "The question now is whether or not we should take this empty mine." At this moment, if the people of the Holy Moon clan were to take action, they could easily take over this load. Many people were very tempted. However, there was another problem that needed to be paid attention to. Snatching away the celestial crystal mine would definitely alert the Holy Thunder clan. Once the news spread, all forces would be on guard against the Holy Moon clan. Then, their plan would be in vain. Back then, they had painstakingly sacrificed a lot to set up this great array. Was it worth it to exchange it for this celestial crystal mine? This was a question of whether to give or take. The answer was obvious. From the perspective of the entire Holy Moon clan, the choice was obvious at a glance. It had to be said that Zi-Chen had grasped the timing very well. It was precisely when the interior was empty. If the Holy Moon clan hadn't had this kind of monitoring method, everyone would have been kept in the dark. By the time everyone had killed their way into the depths, the Blood Dragon Canyon would have been occupied by the Holy Thunder clan alone. At the same time, the other reinforcements of the Holy Thunder clan would be able to easily guard this area. If they hadn't had this kind of monitoring method, no one would have known about Zi-Chen's methods. It had to be said that Zi-Chen was very resourceful. Unfortunately, even if they knew, they couldn't do anything to stop them for the sake of the overall situation. This was because a mere mine couldn't compare to their grand plan at all. They could only watch in silence. But to just hand over a mineral vein like this, everyone felt extremely uncomfortable in their hearts. Even if we can't get our hands on it, we absolutely can't let the Holy Thunder clan get the mine so easily. Release some news that the Lost clan's crazy behavior is very likely because a great treasure has appeared in the depth. The leader of the Holy Moon clan said in a deep voice. Once this news spread, even if the forces hadn't defeated the Lost Clan yet, they would discover the Holy Thunder Clan's mine. There would be a lot of fighting over it. Right now, the Holy Moon clan didn't care who the mine fell into, as long as it wasn't so easy to get it. Looking at the reinforcements of the other forces, Zi-Chen said with a smile, "Everyone, why don't we make a move now? Beat the Lost Clan until they piss their pants." Xiaolei, who was standing next to him, used the transmission talisman and disappeared. Everyone felt as uncomfortable as if they had eaten a fly. The Holy Thunder Clan had the least number of people. Why would they arrange for us? The Lost Clan suddenly attacked so viciously. Could it be that some kind of great treasure has appeared in the depths and they don't want us to get our hands on it? A voice sounded abruptly. Those who heard this voice were slightly taken aback. After thinking about it carefully, it wasn't impossible. For a moment, many people's eyes became fiery again. If there was really a great treasure in the depths, then they would suffer a great loss when they left this time. The forces that were originally eager to give it a try were ready to join forces to launch a new attack on the Lost Clan. Zi-Chen released his soul power. In his perception, some people had begun to quietly go deeper. His expression changed. He couldn't pretend to be calm anymore. If they went deeper, they would naturally find something unusual as long as they passed by the mountainous area. After a slight hesitation, he retreated. As he retreated, the 500 people he brought with him also retreated. When they came to an open area, Zi-Chen took out the transmission talisman given by Xiaolei. They couldn't wait any longer. Someone had already sneaked into the depths to investigate. The others looked at Zi-Chen with some worry in their eyes. If they left now, the mine would be exposed. "Let's go," Zi-Chen said decisively. At this moment, he didn't care whether they were exposed or not. Zi-Chen raised his hand and waved the transmission talisman toward the sky. A large expanse of light fell, enveloping more than 500 people. The next moment, everyone's figures disappeared. "See, the Holy Thunder Clan has already found an opportunity in the depths. Now, they have gone there alone." The previous voice spoke again, but the voice was erratic, and they still couldn't see who it was. Yes, they must have found something good. Otherwise, they wouldn't think of leaving now. Moreover, they directly used transmission. This is something they were prepared for. This Holy Thunder Clan is indeed cunning. They deceived us to the periphery, but they went deep alone. Everyone spoke one after another, swearing that there might be a great opportunity in the depths. The other forces were tempted. In the secret chamber, Yu Buhui sneered, "Sure enough, they are still a little naive. With such a trick, they lost their footing. If they continue to stay there, we really can't do anything." With a flash of brilliance, Zi-Chen arrived at the mountainous area. The others had already left and entered the depths of the Blood Dragon Canyon. There was no one here. Zi-Chen waved his hand, and another protective restriction appeared. Zi-Chen looked at the restriction in front of him and said indifferently, "Let's wait." Lei Wusheng was a little worried. After all, the real purpose of the reinforcements was to guard this mineral vein. Now, Zi-Chen had sent them to search for opportunities in the depths. How were they going to guard this place? Zi-Chen said wait again. He sat cross-legged outside the restriction and waited silently. The others could only continue to wait here. Zi-Chen seemed to be in a deep sleep, and his body was motionless. Lei Wusheng turned back and looked in the direction of the depths. He didn't know where those people had gone. The only thing to be thankful for was that there was no danger along the way until they reached the Blood Dragon Canyon. Because of Zi-Chen's sudden departure, those forces were even more anxious. They were worried that they would miss out on a great opportunity, so a great battle broke out. In this battle, the joint forces of all the forces made the vestigial clan suffer a lot. Seeing the outbreak of this battle, Yu Buhui said regretfully, "If we could leak more of the heavenly secrets, as long as those people wait a few more days, the vestigial clan will definitely retreat." Then, It will be the time of death for Zi Chen and his group. However, they obviously didn't dare to leak more information, so they could only watch the battle between the two sides break out. In this way, the Holy Thunder Clan became the safest. The reinforcements all entered the Blood Dragon Canyon. During this time, the 5,000 people were divided into small teams, and the leader of each team had a great background. In the canyon, the smell of blood pervaded, and corpses could be seen everywhere. From this, it could be seen how heavy the casualties were in the last great escape. The canyon, which had not been quiet for long, became lively again because of the arrival of these invaders. However, this time, the invaders were well prepared, and each of them had tyrannical killing power. A huge serpent with the potential to transform into a dragon appeared. It spat out flames, and wherever it passed, it seemed to bring a sea of magma with it, exuding a terrifying heat. The holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan all had a change in expression. The aura of these flames was too strong. Die! An extreme core cultivator charged forward and dove straight into the sea of flames. Then, the sound of battle rang out, and powerful energy rumbled continuously. After just 3 breaths, the sweeping flames disappeared, and the serpent turned into a corpse. The extreme core whose figure appeared said somewhat awkwardly, "Don't hide anymore. Just use your soul weapons. The strange beasts here have extraordinary soul power." He held a long sword in his hand, and soul light flowed on the sword. This was the chaos tug that Zi Chen lent to him. Because it was said to be alone, the extreme core had a grudge in his heart, so he didn't use it immediately in the battle. He didn't expect to suffer a hidden loss. When the other extreme core saw this, they no longer hid and used their soul weapons to open the path, greatly increasing their efficiency. Just as the Holy Thunder Clan was gaining something in the Blood Dragon Canyon, the first batch of people who secretly sneaked in arrived at the mountainous region. Then, they once again saw the restrictions set up by the Holy Thunder Clan. They immediately sent the news back. The Holy Thunder Clan found a land of opportunity that was suspected to be a celestial crystal mine. Obviously, no one saw it with their own eyes, but such news spread. Chapter 4101. The news about the celestial crystal lode spread like wildfire. The speed at which it spread was far beyond everyone's imagination. Everyone was shocked. Everyone knew the importance of the celestial crystal lode. When they came here for the first time, everyone wanted to see if they could find a celestial crystal lode. Not only could they save a portion of the teleportation fee, but they could also go in and out at will and dispatch people. But after seeing that the Holy Moon Clan had already prepared several precise teleportations, they gave up on this idea. Everyone thought that the Holy Moon Clan had controlled all the celestial crystal lodes, so they chose to open the Lost World. They never thought that the Holy Thunder Clan would find a celestial crystal lode at this time. Was it a celestial crystal lode that the Holy Moon Clan had accidentally missed? Or had the Holy Moon Clan not excavated all the celestial crystal lodes and there were still many of them here? When the news spread, it caused a huge commotion. Then, all the forces joined forces and swept forward crazily like a surging torrent. Faced with these united holy spirits, the vestigial clan could not resist and could only retreat. This time, it was their turn to suffer heavy casualties. Asterisk 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 asterisk. What did you say? The leader of the Holy Star Clan, who was checking the terrain, suddenly turned his head and said, "A celestial crystal lode has appeared." That's what the news said. It was discovered by the Holy Thunder Clan, the person said respectfully. How accurate is the news? Could it be that other forces have misled us? The other party asked again. It doesn't seem like it. The news came from the southeast, where there is only one major force, the Holy Thunder Clan. The other party said, and when we came, I noticed that other forces, big and small, seemed to have made some movements. The leader said decisively, leave some people to guard the celestial crystal lode. The rest, retreat. After taking a few steps forward, the leader said, go and call Starry Night. Just as the Holy Star Clan returned, the other forces also retreated and went straight to the area where the Holy Thunder Clan was. Obviously, this was no longer a secret. After all the forces learned about it, they were all tempted. As a result, the situation became clearer. In the other 7 directions, The vestigial clan's advance was only blocked, while the vestigial clan in the southeast was defeated. The casualties were heavy. Outside the restrictive spell, Zi Chen and Lei Wusheng led close to 100 people to guard the area. The others were inside the restrictive spell, led by Lei Wusheng. My lord, those bereaved have been routed. It won't be long before they arrive here. A person came from afar and reported the latest situation. Zi Chen nodded. The bereaved's defeat was within his expectations. However, the speed at which they were defeated was still somewhat unexpected. However, when he thought of the figures that he had seen earlier quietly retreating, he could also guess various reasons. The Holy Thunder clan's most difficult time was coming. On the Moonstar, the atmosphere suddenly became extremely tense. It was as if all the major powers had become extremely busy and were extremely cautious. There was an endless stream of experts arriving and entering the Lost World. Outside Luna, Lei Di opened his eyes. It seems that the mine has been exposed. If that's the case, we'll have to speed up. In the next moment, Lei Di disappeared and arrived at the encampment of the Moonlight Star Holy Thunder Clan. A special spatial zone had been set aside here, and everyone was busy inside. Lei Meng was in charge of supervising the work and forbade any outsiders from entering. Lei Di's sudden appearance gave him a fright, and he immediately saluted the holy sage. Lei Di waved his hand and said, "Go, leave this to me. Tell Zi Chen that the people outside have already made their move. Our second batch of reinforcements will be here as soon as possible." Yes. Lei Meng took out the lost celestial crystal, set up a teleportation formation, and disappeared. At this moment, a ray of light flew over from afar. Lei Di looked up at the light figure. He could sense the aura of the holy sage, but he still dared to appear. Naturally, the person who came was also a holy sage. Lei Di, your Holy Thunder Clan has hidden very well. Yu Wushang, the guardian of the Holy Moon Clan, stood in the air, glanced at the teleportation formation that was being built, and said coldly. Lei Di said faintly, "Compared to you, we're still a lot worse. You have a lot of fish and meat, and we can only be considered as leftovers. You call a celestial crystal vein a leftover? Why, is finding a solar-massing crystal vein an opportunity?" Yu Wushang said sarcastically. "Oh, Yu Wushang, you're talking big." At this moment, a young voice sounded. "Are you thinking of finding another solar-massing crystal vein in the Lost World?" The vein ancestor and spirit ancestor of the Holy Thunder Clan appeared one after another. 3 holy sages had appeared. "You look like you're not convinced. Why don't we both practice?" The vein ancestor said with a smile, "Anyway, the one who will lose face is you. Everyone says that the Holy Thunder Clan is shameless. Today, I see that it's true." Yu Wushang snorted, and said, "Don't be too proud. Finding a vein is one thing, but whether you can keep it depends on your ability." Yu Wushang obviously didn't want to be entangled with these troublesome guys. Before he turned and left, he said, "I forgot to remind you that the Holy Thunder Clan has been divided into 2 groups. The 5,000 reinforcements have gone to the Blood Dragon Canyon to find opportunities. As for Zi Chen's 500 people, they are now guarding the vein. If your reinforcements can't arrive in time, the vein will definitely be lost." Yu Wushang left. This time, the Holy Thunder Clan didn't hide anymore and started to build a transmission array. This news would spread quickly, and it might alarm other holy sages. He was a little depressed. Why was it the Holy Thunder Clan again? Were they really that lucky? The lost race fled all the way and finally arrived at the mountainous area. After seeing the huge protective light shield, everyone was stunned. Last time, they destroyed all the protection along the way and drove all the human holy spirits to the outside world. Those who didn't escape became corpses. What was going on now? How did these hundreds of people survive? The crushing defeat along the way made them extremely sullen. At this moment, everyone was angry. When they saw such a small team, they naturally wanted to eat them up to vent their anger. The injured leader glanced behind him. Those humans who were supposed to be chasing after him didn't catch up to him immediately for some reason. Given some time, they could really eat this team up and earn some face for themselves so that they wouldn't be defeated so badly. But after hesitating for a moment, he dispelled that idea. He stretched out his hand and slashed his neck hard. After making a threat, the humanoid lost race took his people and left. Zichen just smiled when faced with the threat of his throat being slit. Fortunately, this guy was smart. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to go back. Zichen didn't have the energy to pay attention to the other party. He could only let them leave. Next, he had a big battle to fight. The lost race had all retreated and didn't attack Zichen's people according to the plan. Naturally, people from other forces would come. They came to the periphery of the restriction and looked at the restriction protection of the Holy Thunder Clan from afar. They didn't immediately go forward. Without the leadership of a big force, they wouldn't dare to casually attack the Holy Thunder Clan's territory. Not to mention that they couldn't win. What would they do if they suffered heavy casualties? Even if they won, how would they face the Holy Thunder Clan outside? They might have already blocked their door before they could go home. Therefore, they could only wait. Wait for a big force that could contend with the Holy Thunder Clan to appear. Wait for them to attack and fight to the death. These people would pick up the leftovers behind. There was silence all around. Even the desolate He family, who had provoked Zichen, didn't say anything at this time. After all, more than one big force would come later. Zichen waited quietly. He wasn't in a hurry. Finally, those big forces came. The crowd immediately dispersed, and 7 openings appeared. The 5 Elements aristocratic family and the other 2 holy clans appeared in Zichen's field of vision. Naturally, they were all unfamiliar faces. There were very few familiar faces. That was because almost all the people he was familiar with in the immortal domain had died. Zichen said with a smile, "Everyone, you're all here because you've finished excavating the resources in the other directions?" Zichen, cut the crap. Get straight to the point, the leader of the Holy Star Clan said indifferently. What I see when I open the door is not a mountain. That's because you've already surrounded the mountain, Zichen said. That's meaningless. Your Holy Thunder Clan won't be able to defend a heavenly crystal mine, the leader of the Holy Star Clan said again. Then, can you defend it? How about I give it to you? Zichen said again. The expressions of the others all changed. That was because the matter of the heavenly crystal mine had always been a rumor. It had never been confirmed. However, Zichen's action confirmed everyone's guess. The leader of the Holy Star Clan said mockingly, "Does this mean that you admit that there is a mine here?" Zichen nodded and said seriously, "Of course. If I didn't say that, wouldn't you have come here for nothing?" The crowd became restless. Many people's gazes became fervent. It was actually a mine. However, there were also some people who were skeptical. "In that case, you won't be able to defend it." Another person spoke. It was Yarrow Guan of the Holy Glory Clan. The second Holy Star Clan member spoke and made his stance clear. Before entering, Zichen and Yarrow Guan had had a conversation. At that time, they had been friendly. However, the 2 of them were now standing on opposite sides because of the mine. Although the others didn't speak, they had already made their stance clear. The smile on Zichen's face didn't fade. He extended 3 fingers and said, "Before I came in, the Holy Thunder Clan already had 3 sacred venerates. Now, the 3 sacred venerates are all outside. What do you think you can do?" The 3 sacred venerates were definitely existences with a lot of weight. It was obvious that the Holy Thunder Clan had been prepared for this. This made many people's expressions change again. This was the foundation of the various sacred clans. There were so many sacred venerates that they could easily recruit a few. Chapter 4102. In terms of holy sages, whether it was the 4 sacred clans, the 5 Elements aristocratic families, or other major forces, such as the Sword sect of the Sword domain and the Buddhist sect of the Buddha domain, there were many of them. Therefore, when Zichen said that 3 holy sages were approaching, Yarrow Guan's expression did not change much. The other major forces were not intimidated either. Instead, they were all laughing coldly. "If you want to scare us with holy sages, Then you're wrong. Yarrow Guan said, holy sages don't care about this. Zichen still smiled and said, oh, so that's how it is. Since I didn't scare you, what are you going to do next? Gang up on me. This was a problem, and a very important one at that. The mineral vein was right in front of them. It was easy for them to take it, but who would do it? Yarrow Guan frowned slightly and said, you're still so stubborn at this time? Zichen said, if you want the mineral vein, just come up. At most, there are only a few of you. I, Zichen, will take it all. Zichen looked into the distance. As for the rest of you, it's best that you don't join in the fun. Even if you did put in a lot of effort in repelling the vestigial clan, they will never give you the slightest bit of benefit. It can even be said that you won't even have the chance to eat the scraps. Although it was unpleasant to hear, it was the truth. It was almost impossible to expect these major forces to spit out the meat in their mouths and share it with everyone. However, they were still willing to come here because they wanted to get that chance. What if it was divided? Now that Zichen pointed it out directly, many people had already given up. At that moment, a voice sounded. If we stand on the side of the Holy Thunder Clan, I wonder if Lord Zichen is willing to share some benefits with us. Even if it's just a little. It was a female voice, and Zichen had already recognized who it was. He did not even consider it. He shook his head and said apologetically, sorry, I'm not even willing to share with these major forces. Naturally, I won't share it with others. The female voice laughed and said, so, Lord Zichen is full of confidence. The one who is confident is not me, but the Holy Thunder Clan. Zichen said solemnly, I firmly believe that the Holy Thunder Clan will be able to defend the mineral lode that we have spent countless efforts to discover. The female voice giggled and said, then we'll just wait and see. The expressions of the people around them were changing. At this moment, many of them were in a dilemma. Zichen looked at everyone and said, how about this? I'll divide you into two groups. The first group is the ambitious major forces, and the second group is your group. Why don't you go first? If our Holy Thunder Clan loses, then we'll hand over this celestial crystal mine to you, okay? Zichen pointed to the restriction behind him and said, you can attack first. I promise I'll keep my word. But if you don't attack now and choose to attack later, then I'm sorry, but the Holy Thunder Clan will come to ask for an explanation. In a few simple words, he had divided the major and minor forces. Under such circumstances, even if the minor forces were given a few guts, they would not dare to attack. If they lost, they would suffer heavy losses. Even if they won, they would not have an easy time. At that time, they would have to face other major forces. Who could stop them? It could be said that Zichen's words had directly excluded them from this battle for the celestial crystal mine. Everyone was naturally unwilling. After all, this was a mineral lode. But so what? Who would dare to gang up and attack it? Even if they won now, what about the future? Zichen did not look at the others. Instead, he looked at the representative forces. Is it your turn? Yarrow Guan said in a deep voice, why? You're so provocative. Do you think we won't dare to attack? Zichen said, I know you'll do whatever it takes, but I'll be honest here. The Holy Thunder Clan has a limited number of people. Therefore, if you attack this time, we will definitely fight to the death. It's your ability to snatch the mineral lode behind me. I won't say anything. Similarly, if you don't have enough ability, you'll die in vain. Are you threatening us? Yarrow Guan's eyes turned cold. The surrounding temperature suddenly dropped, and a chill began to spread. The holy spirits of the major forces who came here had all experienced death. Naturally, they were not afraid of threats. Zichen's hand flashed and the long rod appeared in his hand. He said indifferently, you'll know if it's a threat or not when you try. Zichen's eyes turned cold in an instant. Holy Thunder Clan, are you ready for a fight to the death? Behind Zichen, more than 500 experts of the Holy Thunder Clan shouted indifferently, we're ready at any time. Yarrow Guan sighed and said, why do you have to do this? You obviously can't hold on, so why do you still want to fight to the death? Can't you just share the heaven crystal with us? Zichen sneered, of course it's good, but I'm only willing to give a share to the Holy Glory Clan. I won't give any to the other forces. What do you think? Yarrow Guan looked back at the others and said, What do you think? The leader of the Holy Star clan said, What's the point of talking so much with them? Let's just kill them all. I don't believe that your sacred thunder tribe will be able to reap all the benefits. Yarrow Guan's gaze continued to move to the others. Everyone nodded, obviously in favor of starting a war. Yarrow Guan understood everyone's meaning. He looked at Zi Chen again and said, Since we're starting a war, we naturally won't follow the rule of one-on-one. Zi Chen nodded, indicating that he understood. He turned around and cupped his fists to everyone behind him. He bowed and said guiltily, Everyone, this time it's Zi Chen who has let you down. After this war, regardless of whether it's a success or failure, the compensation given to everyone will be increased by 3 times. Don't worry, sir. Even if we die, our corpses will be placed here. The people behind him replied. Zi Chen was really guilty because the original 5,000 powerful reinforcements had been arranged to stay in the Blood Dragon Canyon. The new reinforcements had yet to arrive. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't be a problem for a team of 5,000 people, as well as those core members, to guard this mineral vein. However, there were too many unforeseen circumstances now. This was because the number of people from any one of the major forces was currently on par with the Holy Thunder Clan. Moreover, when the various forces joined forces, their numbers were several times that of the Holy Thunder Clans. In the secret chamber, everyone was watching the show. They naturally hoped that the major forces would fight to the death. The more the better. Although they were all allies, the competition in the dark had never stopped. Yarrow Guan raised his hand and stared at Zi Chen. Zi Chen, are you sure you want to do this? Zi Chen said in a deep voice, This mineral vein is worth hundreds of our lives. At the same time, the leaders of the Holy Star clan and the Five Elements family also raised their hands and waited for the order. The other forces immediately retreated. Obviously, this battle was no longer something they could participate in. They didn't even dare to touch it. This was because the forces present had the confidence to not be afraid of settling accounts after the autumn, but they couldn't. As for the outcome, it was no longer important. As long as the battle started, it would be a battle with far-reaching significance. The surroundings were dead silent. It was as if even the sound of breathing had disappeared. When the word kill appeared, it was clearly very clear and even loud. Asterisk 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 asterisk. After hesitating for a while, Yarrow Guan still said kill. In today's situation, they had to fight. After he said kill, several more shouts of kill rang out. The 7 major forces had joined forces to fight against the Holy Thunder Clan. Lei Wushuang led the remaining people out of the seal. In the final battle, there was no reason for her, a core extreme, not to participate. Even if it meant death. This was because all the extreme core extreme were absolutely loyal to the Holy Thunder Clan. The sacred spirits in the 7 directions moved. Zi Chen also put away the long staff at this time and replaced it with the mysterious inscrutable. As the sacred rune brush fell, a spirit tiger appeared and rushed forward. In the sky, dozens of attacks suddenly fell on the spirit tiger's body and immediately destroyed it. At the same time, more attacks approached. Some were aimed at the sacred spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan, and some were aimed at the seal behind them. In an instant, the seal was already on the verge of collapse. The gap between the 2 sides was too big. The direction of the battle was almost clear at a glance. The short distance was almost nothing to the many sacred spirits. In an instant, the 2 sides were engaged in battle. Both sides had large-scale killing arrays, so they didn't want to let the other side use them. Thus, they were immediately entangled. In such a situation, individual combat power was especially important. Zi Chen no longer drew the rune to summon the tiger. As the brush fell, black clouds rolled in the sky. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Endless soul power surged, and a flood dragon appeared. He raised the brush again and a second flood dragon appeared. The 2 flood dragons soared in the sky, riding the clouds and mist. Their powerful soul power made people feel the strong threat of death even though they were far away. The 3rd flood dragon, the 4th flood dragon, and the 5th flood dragon. A total of 7 flood dragons, controlled by Zi Chen's soul power, flew in 7 directions to support his people. At the same time, Zi Chen put away the brush and held the staff. A shield appeared in his left hand. With a staff and a shield in one hand, Zi Chen rushed into the crowd. The light shield blocked the attacks, and the long staff took the opportunity to attack. Bang! 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 As the long staff smashed down, the sacred spirits flew backward one after another. None of these sacred spirits could stand up. Serious injuries were the smallest price to pay. Most of them were smashed to death by Zi Chen's staff. No matter what kind of defense they used, they couldn't withstand a single strike from Zi Chen. This was the power that Zi Chen had obtained in the Holy Talisman realm. Moreover, it was a power that targeted the soul. He killed his way into the crowd like a tiger in a flock of sheep, wantonly slaughtering. In the distance, all the people who had retreated were trembling in fear. Zi Chen, who was so powerful, could almost catch up with an entire team. When Yarou Guan saw this scene, his expression changed. He didn't expect Zi Chen to be so powerful. He looked to the side and saw a 6-star sacred talisman master standing out. His true cultivation level was as high as 8 stars, infinitely close to a 9-star sacred spirit. He was also a famous genius of the Holy Glory race. He rushed forward with boundless killing intent in his eyes. Like a dazzling sun, he went straight for Zi Chen. Seeing this scene, the crowd exclaimed. They were going to meet force with force. Everyone's eyes were filled with anticipation. They wanted to see the result of this battle. However, the moment the two collided, the light of the sun suddenly extinguished. Chapter 4103. Everyone's expectant expressions froze at this moment. They all knew that Zi Chen was powerful and had extraordinary combat strength. He had already made a name for himself many years ago. But no one had expected Zi Chen to be so powerful. Although his opponent was a 6-star sacred symbol master, he was infinitely close to a 9-star sacred spirit. Furthermore, he was a member of the Holy Glory clan and had learned their cultivation techniques. How powerful was his combat strength? But in front of Zi Chen, he was defeated in one move. No, he was killed in one move. The others were also shocked. They had thought that it would be a one-sided battle, but no one had expected it to end so quickly. The gap was clear at a glance. Yarou Guan's expression changed. As the leader, he did not attack immediately. Obviously, even if it was a group attack, he was worried about the reputation of the Holy Glory clan. He could not really let his people attack Zi Chen. But now, it seemed to be different. Just as he was deep in thought, several people had already flown out from several other directions and were charging towards Zi Chen. Obviously, they had seen how powerful Zi Chen was, so there was no need to worry about anything else. Today, they were determined to seize the mineral lode. Zi Chen was still in the posture of a staff and shield, but his eyes became colder and colder. Golden soul power flowed on the surface of his body. In a battle of this level, he had completely given up the power of the ancient thunder flame and turned it into the power of the dark ghost devouring soul technique. The holy spirits that charged at the front were all 8-star holy spirits, but they all turned into corpses in the blink of an eye when facing Zi Chen. He attacked with all his strength. Zi Chen did not hold back, and he did not dare to hold back. The sacred spirits of the various forces who were watching the battle believed that they would never forget this battle even if countless years passed. Other than the Holy Moon clan who had already stayed out of it, the 7 prominent forces of the sacred spirit world had joined forces to besiege the Holy Thunder clan. This was an extremely rare event in itself, and it had far-reaching significance. But no one had expected Zi Chen's killing power to be so terrifying. In the face of an absolute disadvantage in terms of numbers, Zi Chen's battle prowess had shocked everyone. It could be said that in this battle, as long as he did not kill his opponent in one strike, it would be too merciful. Everyone who stepped forward was usually killed in one move. Zi Chen's powerful battle prowess struck fear into the hearts of the onlookers. On the surface, there were only about 500 people on his side, but Zi Chen's killing power alone was equivalent to a huge army. It was also fortunate that the 7 major forces had a deep foundation and numerous experts. If it were any other forces, they would have long been utterly defeated. He Wei stood in the crowd and looked at Zi Chen, who was on a killing spree. Even his eyelids were trembling. Last time, in order to establish his authority, he chose to make an example out of the Holy Thunder clan. However, he didn't expect Zi Chen to be so domineering at that time, threatening to kill everyone. This caused him to feel fear in his heart. Hence, he chose to fight alone and lost 100,000 immortal stones. Today, after witnessing Zi Chen's powerful combat strength and recalling the scene of that day, not to mention the hundreds of people Zi Chen brought, even without them, Zi Chen alone would be able to slaughter all of them. 1 against 1,000 seemed a little exaggerated, but 1 against 100 was not a problem. Suddenly, He Wei's expression changed and he looked in front of him in disbelief. He saw Zi Chen put away his staff again and took out the holy talisman brush. Then, he drew a line in front of him. The powerful aura surging around him seemed to have weakened a little because of this. A ray of light, like the sharpest blade in the world, cut through the heaven and earth and went straight ahead. There were dozens of holy spirits in front of them who were charging in their direction. They just happened to encounter this stroke of heaven and earth. Everyone's expression changed drastically and they used their defensive means. The holy talisman brush speed did not decrease. It pierced through the dozens of holy spirits and split them in half. All of their defensive means and defensive weapons were shattered. They were all dead. A huge open area appeared in front of Zi Chen. Zi Chen put away his brush and changed to his staff again. He looked in front of him. Gasps could be heard all around. Many people even subconsciously glanced at their own bodies, worried that they would be split in half too. No, it's not 1 against 100. He has the ability to fight 1 against 1,000. He Wei's voice began to tremble. He had inadvertently said what was on his mind. This person's combat strength is too extraordinary. Next to He Wei, the real leader exclaimed, even if the major forces win this time, it will be a Pyrrhic victory today. Even if Zi Chen loses and loses the mineral vein, it's not shameful just based on this battle result. How many prodigies like him are there in this world? Killing holy spirits was as easy as killing chickens and dogs. You should think twice before making an enemy of him. At this moment, the leader of the He clan was also stunned by Zi Chen's combat strength. In another direction, the people of the Kui clan were also watching the battle. Kui Cheng clicked his tongue and said, "This guy's combat strength is too terrifying. Who can beat Zi Chen like this?" Kui Jing, who was beside him, was silent. Her eyes were flickering. No one knew what she was thinking. "Miss, are we really going to?" A rare hesitation appeared in Kui Cheng's eyes. Kui Jing shook her head slowly and said, "There's no need for us to make a move today. In this situation, Zi Chen will definitely die. Once he dies here, he will lose his greatest support. Without this body, Zi Chen will no longer be a threat in the future." However, Kui Jing did not know that when she spoke, her voice was trembling. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The chaotic battle continued. Other than Zi Chen, who was on a killing spree, the other battles were not looking good. After all, there was a huge difference in the number of people on both sides. On the other hand, Lei Wusheng and Lei Wushuang's side had brilliant battle results, but the two of them were deliberately targeted. Zi Chen's surroundings were already littered with the corpses of holy spirits. The holy spirits, who were known to be immortal and had countless means of resurrection, were so vulnerable in front of Zi Chen. Blood flowed all over the ground. The smell of blood was extremely strong. The light of the holy weapons was overflowing. Even though most of them had been split into two and were broken into pieces, it still did not affect their high quality. In this battle, the casualties were not only the holy spirits, but also countless resources. Similarly, the Holy Thunder clan on Zi Chen's side had also suffered a lot of casualties. If it were not for Zi Chen's powerful killing power that restrained a portion of the holy spirits, the others would have been dead long ago. Even now, they could not hold on much longer. Zi Chen, who was covered in blood, looked at the leaders who were watching coldly from the sidelines. He pointed at the long staff in his hand and said indifferently, "Stop watching. Let's fight to the death. Otherwise, your people will all die." Yarrow Guan said in a deep voice, "You want to fight one-on-one with us?" Zichen said disdainfully, "The 7 of you can come together. Let's fight to the death." Chapter 4104. This battle was very tragic. In a short period of time, both sides had suffered great casualties. On Zichen's side, there were less than 100 survivors, and 4/5 of them had been killed. Those who had died were all experts. On the side of the 7 forces, Zichen had killed more than 200 people, and there were several powerful experts among them. If this continued, Zichen's side would definitely be wiped out. However, on the side of the 7 forces, only a few would survive. Even if they did not care about the other forces, there were still many outside who were eyeing them covetously. There were many holy spirits among them as well, and there were quite a few powerful beings as well. Therefore, after thinking about it, Yarrow Guan decided to take action personally. He took a step forward. Just as he was about to move, another person appeared. It was the leader of the Holy Star clan. There was an uproar. Were they really going to join forces? 2 holy clans appeared, and the leaders of the 5 elements families also stood out. 7 people, 7 directions, all looking at Zichen indifferently. Zichen took a deep breath. Even he felt a lot of pressure at this moment. At this moment, Lei Wusheng and Lei Wushuang walked out. The 2 of them were the core of the Holy Star clan, and their combat strength was strong. They were not weaker than any of the 7 leaders. Even if the 2 of them had consumed a lot of energy in the previous battle, they could still handle these leaders at their peak. Zichen stretched out his bloody hand and stopped the 2 of them. "There are only 7 of them. I'll deal with them alone." The 2 of them were worried about Zichen's current state. Zichen shook his head slowly and said, "Don't worry. This is their blood, and there will be more." Shameless boasting. A cold snort was heard, and a figure emitting golden light rushed towards Zichen. It was the Gold clan of the 5 elements families. Only one of them rushed forward, and the others were watching. They did not attack together. Zichen's lips curled into a smile. This was exactly what he wanted. This was an opportunity. With the staff and shield in hand, Zichen's body also moved forward like a shooting star. Although the power of the 2 was golden, there was an obvious difference. Zichen's golden power was the soul power in his sea of consciousness, while the Jin clan leader's power was the power of his body. When the 2 collided, there was a huge explosion. The Jin clan leader's body retreated backwards. His powerful soul power formed a vibrating force that caused his head to buzz. Zichen's figure flashed and dissolved the layers of impact. He continued to move forward and the second strike fell. Peng! The staff was blocked. The leader of the Jin clan retreated again. Zichen's figure flickered as he continued to approach. The third strike landed. His body seemed to stick close to the leader of the Jin clan as he continued to attack. During this time, the vibrating soul power continued to flow into the Jin clan leader's mind. There were no external injuries. What was affected was only the soul. If it happened once, twice, thrice, or even 5 times, he could still withstand it. However, as the number of times increased, his soul gradually became unable to withstand it. Zichen had already attacked 30 times in a row. The body of the Jin clan leader was on the verge of collapse, and the soul in his sea of consciousness was already in a mess. "Do it." When Yarrow Guan saw this scene, his expression couldn't help but change as he shouted. The others also moved forward. They didn't expect the other party to be defeated so quickly. "It's too late." Looking at the 6 people approaching, Zichen coldly smiled and said, "Explode." The vibrating soul power exploded in the Jin clan leader's sea of consciousness. In an instant, his soul was forcefully destroyed. Before the others could approach, one of the leaders had already died. The surroundings were in an uproar again. Zichen looked at the other 6 leaders and coldly smiled. "It's time for the 6 of you." He raised his brush again. This time, he summoned his battle spirit. This was the battle spirit from the Holy Mountain in the Holy Talisman realm. It was considered a top-grade magical art. A powerful battle spirit appeared. Its body was as tall as a mountain peak, and terrifying soul power surged around it, blocking the advance of the two leaders. It wasn't that these leaders weren't strong enough, but that they were temporarily unable to adapt to the battle spirit's fighting style. Zichen had stayed in the Holy Talisman realm for hundreds of years and was deeply aware of the miraculous use of soul power. The reason why he had the confidence to fight 1 against 7 was also because of his soul power. There were still 4 other leaders. They were the Sacred Star, Sacred Glory, Wood, and Fire. Dai. The leader of the Sacred Star race had a cold look in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, a Xing Chen painting appeared in the sky. On this painting, Xing Chen stars lit up. Starry Sky Sword Array. Sword chi fell from the sky like a rain of swords, shrouding this part of the world. Facing these attacks, Zichen kept his weapon and clenched his right hand into a fist. The power of the ancient thunder flame circulated on the surface of his body, and an ancient and powerful aura spread out. Soul power didn't have much effect on this kind of attack. A punch went against the sky and collided with the sword chi in the sky. With a domineering posture, it destroyed the sword chi. After destroying the sword chi, the power of the ancient thunder flame didn't disappear. It continued to move against the sky and pierced through the Xing Chen painting in the sky. A punch broke the star array. In Zichen's left hand, an energy staff that was releasing light appeared. In his right hand, the staff also released a dazzling light. The two fused together. Circles of ripples spread out. The space was like the surface of a boiling lake, becoming extremely unstable. Zichen held the staff tightly with both hands and took a step forward. In the trembling void, he swept the staff forward. Buzz! A golden staff shadow drew an arc in the sky. Seeing this staff shadow, the leader of the Sacred Star race's expression changed. Starlight flashed in front of him again, and a resplendent Xing Chen appeared as if it was real. Boom! In the next moment, the staff shadow went through the Xing Chen painting and landed in the sea of consciousness of the leader of the Sacred Star race. This was a soul power attack. Ordinary methods couldn't block it at all. Soul power shook, and the leader of the Sacred Star race flew backward. Blood was flowing out of his 7 orifices. Although he didn't die on the spot, he was already breathing heavily. His face was filled with horror. Only when he fought with Zichen did he know how strong his opponent was. A dazzling light approached. It was Yarrow Guan. It was his appearance that stopped Zichen from killing the leader of the Sacred Star race. Zichen destroyed Yarrow Guan's attack with his staff. Then, he used the strongest power of the holy battle technique and fought fiercely with Yarrow Guan. Rumbling sounds continued to ring out. Zichen was fighting against the 7 leaders by himself. When the crowd in the distance saw this scene, they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Apart from shock, there was only horror in their eyes. Zichen had shown them what true battle prowess was. Unparalleled combat strength. Invincible combat strength. He was fighting against the leaders of the 8-star race as a 6-star soul master. This was the Sacred Spirit realm. If it was the Sacred Talisman Master realm, then both parties were 6-star Sacred Talisman Masters. It could be said that Zichen's 6-star soul power was no weaker than the leaders of the 8-star race. Initially, the crowd thought that there was no suspense in this battle. After all, Zichen was only one person. But as the battle continued and the leaders died one after another, the battle situation slowly changed. Until the last leader died in battle. The battle was tragic, and the outcome was beyond everyone's expectations. Before Yarrow Guan died, blood was flowing out of his 7 orifices. He looked at Zichen and smiled. No one knew what that smile meant. He seemed to want to say something, but no sound came out of his mouth. He was dead. The 7 leaders were all dead. Chapter 4105. Zichen stood there like a bloody man. This time, other than the enemy's blood, there was also his own. There was a clear bloody hole on his shoulder, which was left by Yarrow Guan. There was also an extremely deep wound on his chest, which was left by the leader of the Wood clan before he died. Zichen had created a magnificent feat by killing the 7 leaders in an invincible manner, but he had also suffered heavy injuries. If it wasn't for the fact that Zi Chen had stayed in the Holy Talisman realm for hundreds of years and obtained the complete soul-devouring technique, as well as the staff and shield, he wouldn't have been able to kill the 7 leaders so easily. He stood there, his body on the verge of collapse, and the wounds on his body hadn't stopped bleeding. The surrounding crowd was shocked, as if they were petrified. Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang wanted to go forward and support him, but Zi Chen reached out again and stopped them. Although Yarrow Guan didn't make a sound, he knew what he was going to say. Trust. That didn't exist. In this world, everything was about benefits. At this point, no one was willing to give up the mineral vein, especially when both sides had suffered heavy casualties. As the core of the core, the two of them quickly understood what Zi Chen meant. This was also the reason why Zi Chen didn't let them participate in the battle earlier, because there was still a battle to come. Kill. As expected, shouts of kill rang out. They were the survivors of the 7 major powers who had lost their leaders. They didn't retreat according to the agreement and directly attacked everyone. Zi Chen stared coldly in front of him. He was not surprised by this scene at all. Flames suddenly ignited on his body. This was a recovery technique that he hadn't used for a long time. His injuries began to recover, including the soul power that he had used previously. Some people attacked the other members of the Holy Thunder Clan, while some attacked the seemingly weak Zi Chen. Zi Chen stood there motionlessly. Just as they were about to kill him, a black light appeared in everyone's field of vision, like a black bolt of lightning. It was a spectre, a combination of a ghost and a spectre. It didn't fight before because it was waiting for this moment. In the past, ghost spirits were very powerful and could ignore attacks. Now that he had become a spectre, he had become several times stronger. Wherever the underworld ghost passed, no one was left alive. Its lethality was no less than that of Zi Chen. He still has a backup plan? Everyone was stunned by this scene. The battle had been going on for so long, and almost everyone was dead, but Zi Chen still had a hidden card up his sleeve. What kind of person was this? Wasn't he taking human lives too lightly? It was not only the lives of others, but also his own life. He did not care about it at all. If he had used this trump card earlier, would he have been in such a sorry state? Could he lose half his life? Everyone sighed, but they couldn't help but admire Zi Chen. Not only was he ridiculously powerful, but he also possessed extraordinary intelligence. This guy is terrifyingly calm, the leader of the He clan sighed and said, in his eyes, benefits are above everything else. For the sake of benefits, human lives are nothing. If you make an enemy out of such a person, if you can't kill him immediately, there will be endless troubles in the future. He Wei was so scared that he didn't know what to say. Kui Jing said, this guy. At this moment, there was only fear in everyone's heart. Zi Chen's heart was too cold and too calm. Even though they were clearly at a disadvantage, they were still hiding their trump cards and could only watch as their own people died one after another. He was unmoved. Because of the previous hidden cards, there was another change in the battle. The holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan died one after another, but the casualties on the side of the 7 major forces were even greater. Zi Chen, who had also joined the battle, not only did he not consume more energy, but the flames that kept burning around him seemed to make him more energetic. Asterisk 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 asterisk. There was not a single person left underground. The deputy palace master was still there, and so was Lei Lan, because the teleportation array was still being expanded. When the battle broke out, Lei Lan originally intended to go out and fight, but Fu Laro said that even if she went to die, it wouldn't matter. She was the only disciple of the Thunder Clan, but the speed of her breakthrough was not fast, and she was not at the peak of the core disciples. Even among the core disciples, she was not one of the best. There was a problem with her state of mind. But last time in the immortal domain, because of Zi Chen's matter, she had been brooding in her heart and blamed herself very much. This time, there was a life and death battle outside. Even if she knew that she couldn't do anything to help Zi Chen, she didn't want to stay here. But Fu Laro's words made her change her mind. You should believe in Zi Chen. He has a sense of propriety. Since he dares to do this, although the risk is great, once he succeeds, the Holy Thunder Clan's harvest will be infinite. a mineral vein and a blood dragon canyon. Just occupying these two places is already worth it. Fu Laro said calmly, we don't need to care about the outside world. We just need to keep maximizing the teleportation array. When the next wave of reinforcements arrives, the crisis here will naturally be resolved. The battle continued, and the death toll increased. With the addition of the ghosts, the casualties on the Holy Thunderclan side were still increasing rapidly. The situation was still unfavorable to them. Facing the siege, Lei Wusheng and Lei Wushuang were also injured. Now, the two core disciples had no time to care about anything else. Zi Chen's killing power was still very strong, and it made people tremble. The spectators in the crowd were not only shocked, but also indifferent. Their eyes were like cold lightning, sweeping across the battlefield one by one, as if looking for an opportunity to attack. If one looked carefully, one would find that there were exactly 7 of them. They were like wolves, with enough patience, quietly waiting for their prey to be exhausted. The flames burning on Zi Chen's body gradually extinguished, and the half-dead state of weakness recovered a lot. His ghastly wounds were gradually recovering. On the side of the 7 major forces, all the holy spirits were not afraid of death. Even if they knew that they would only die if they went forward, they still did not stop. Often, they would directly use their strongest methods, and then these methods would be destroyed by Zi Chen, and then they would be killed. The ghost's killing power did not decrease, and its speed was agile, like a bolt of lightning, shuttling through the crowd. The number of people was decreasing rapidly, as if all of them would really die here today. Unknowingly, there was no longer a single holy spirit in Zi Chen's field of vision, and there were corpses everywhere. He looked forward, took a deep breath, and said, "It's already so late, and you still don't want to come out. If you wait any longer, maybe you won't even have the courage to come out." The crowd was slightly startled, not understanding who Zi Chen's words were directed at. Chapter 4106. The onlookers were surprised that someone else had appeared. Moreover, he was alone. However, after seeing who it was, many people's faces changed. "It's Xing Yuanqing." There were exclamations, followed by endless shouts. Everyone present was a holy spirit. They had their own circle of holy spirits. Among them, those 9-star holy spirits with extremely high cultivation were naturally the most famous. And Xing Yuanqing was one of them. He was an expert of the Saint Star clan, and he had once had a glorious battle record. If Zi Chen was said to have risen to fame in recent years, then the Xing Yuanqing of the past was the current Zi Chen. In recent years, perhaps he was in seclusion to break through to the holy venerable realm, so he rarely appeared in public. Who would have thought that the other party would appear here today? Zi Chen didn't know Xing Yuanqing, so he wasn't surprised by the exclamations around him. How could a 9-star holy spirit not have a past? One should know that even a 1-star holy spirit was a dominating existence in his own star field. "You're not bad, but this is it," Xing Yuanqing said. Zi Chen, who was covered in blood, looked at Xing Yuanqing and said, "Why, only you came out. Do you think you can suppress me alone?" At this moment, there were only 3 people left on the Holy Thunderclan side. 3 core members. The others were all dead. On the side of the 7 major forces, there were still more than 100 survivors, but they didn't rush into the restriction. Lei Wusheng and Lei Wushuang staggered forward. Although the Holy Thunderclan had suffered heavy casualties this time, and only 3 people were left, they had blocked enemies several times their size. This was a great feat. "Don't be stubborn," Xing Yuanqing said indifferently, "you know our strength. If you retreat now, I'm willing to give you a way out." "A way out?" Zi Chen sneered, "How is this a way out? You obviously want us to suffer a fate worse than death." If Zi Chen and the other 2 retreated now, how could they explain to the more than 500 people who had died when they returned? If the mine was lost, how could they explain to the Holy Thunderclan? Even if they couldn't defend this place, it was impossible for them to survive. Thus, although the other party seemed to have good intentions, in reality, it would make the 3 of them suffer a fate worse than death in the future, and they would be ostracized countless times. "Think what you want. Actually, I want you to live," said Xing Yuanqing. Zichen said, "Thank you. Unfortunately, even if you don't want me to live, I will still live, and I will live a better life." Xing Yuanqing frowned slightly. "You're still in the mood to joke at such a time?" Zichen's gaze swept across the crowd. Although he couldn't see who was from the 7 major forces, Zichen knew that there should be 6 people who were similar to Xing Yuanqing in the crowd. Retracting his gaze, Zichen sighed and said, "Previously, they all said that I was ruthless, but compared to you, this is nothing. As the leaders behind the scenes, you can casually treat your own people as cannon fodder and watch them sacrifice their own lives in exchange for our casualties and exhaustion." Xing Yuanqing said, "Same here." Zichen shook his head and said, "No, we're not the same. If it were me, I wouldn't hide in the back and watch my people die in battle. I would directly take action." After a slight pause, Zichen said, "Seeing that you can endure so well, I'll tell you the truth. In fact, if you had just appeared, we wouldn't have been able to defend this place at all. Unfortunately, you cherish your lives too much, so you endured until now and felt that the time was right. Actually, you're wrong. From the moment you endured, the time was already in our hands." Xing Yuanqing's eyes changed a little. "So, your reinforcements have arrived?" "Not yet, but it shouldn't be so soon." Zichen shook his head. "Then I won't talk nonsense with you. I'll directly kill you and seize the mineral vein." Xing Yuanqing's eyes were filled with killing intent. Obviously, he didn't intend to continue chatting with Zichen. He released his 9-star aura. This was the realm below the Holy Venerate, and it had the title of Invincible Holy Spirit. And which one of those who could reach 9-star in this world wasn't a genius among geniuses? This was because even the core of the Holy Thunder Clan wouldn't dare to say that they could advance to 9-star. As for the Holy Venerate, it was a realm that people yearned for but didn't dare to dream of. Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang came to Zichen's side and decided to join forces. "It's too late to make a move now." Zichen's laughter rang out, followed by the release of an aura that surpassed that of a 6-star Holy Spirit. 7-star Holy Spirit. Zichen suddenly advanced at this time. Similarly, after advancing, Zichen also had the realm of a 7-star Holy Talisman Master. He might be the only 7-star Holy Talisman Master in the world. Whether it was the soul power of the ghost-devouring soul technique or the power of the ancient thunder flames, after breaking through, they were much stronger than before. The 6-star Zichen could kill an 8-star leader instantly. After breaking through, the 7-star Zichen would have no problem killing a 9-star leader. He had the confidence to do so. The reason why he could break through so quickly, apart from the hundreds of years he had spent in the Holy Talisman realm and his soul power had long improved and was only waiting for his soul power to replenish, was also the fruit given by the Tree of Lightning when he became a core of the Holy Talisman realm. At this moment, there seemed to be no suspense about the outcome. At this moment, success or failure seemed to have become a foregone conclusion. Xing Yuanqing, who was in midair, had a drastic change in expression when he sensed Zichen's realm. At this moment, he understood the meaning of Zichen's words. The successive battles had actually allowed him to seize the opportunity to break through at such a critical moment. Then, his 9-star advantage would be gone. Their 9-star advantage would also be useless. Zichen raised his brush and drew a line in the sky. Heaven and earth in one stroke. The entire world seemed to be split by Zichen's stroke. A black line advanced along with Zichen's attack. Wherever the stroke passed, mountains and rocks were split open and everything was broken. The powerful aura was like a storm, wreaking havoc in this place. The defense of Xing Chen, who was summoned by Xing Yuanqing, was easily broken. The long robe on his body seemed to be extremely extraordinary. It released a strong light in an attempt to resist. But it was useless. When the stroke neared, the strong light was instantly extinguished. The high-quality robe was split into 2. Zichen was very surprised. It turned out to be a soul weapon. This kind of thing was rarely seen in the Saint Spirit realm. Wherever the stroke of the Holy Talisman passed, Xing Yuanqing's soul power was destroyed. His physical body was also cut open by the sharp force. A stroke. Dead. Countless sand flew up and the fallen leaves in front of him tumbled. But the surroundings were dead silent. The once incomparably glorious Xing Yuanqing had fallen just like that. In the underground, the teleportation array lit up. Sacred spirits surging with sacred thunder aura appeared on the teleportation array one after another. Chapter 4107. On the battlefield outside the restriction, it was still dead silent. Xing Yuanqing, who was full of confidence and had even schemed against Zi Chen, had become a corpse lying on the ground. That brush directly targeted his soul and instantly destroyed all his vitality. His body was split into two by the force of energy. Zi Chen stood there, still holding the holy talisman brush in his hand. At this moment, he became extraordinarily tall in the eyes of everyone. Because he could no longer be judged by common sense. There were 6 existences like Xing Yuanqing in the crowd, but after Xing Yuanqing died, they did not appear. It seemed that they did not even have the courage to join forces. Those survivors who still had the strength to fight looked at each other. After an unknown period of time, those people began to retreat. There was an uproar all around. They retreated just like that. There were only 3 people on the Holy Thunder Clan's side. Why didn't they fight again? The restriction flashed, and someone walked out. It was the reinforcements of the Holy Thunder Clan. When they saw the many corpses outside the restriction, their faces changed drastically. From these corpses, they could see how fierce the battle was. Zi Chen put away the holy talisman brush, turned around and said, "Clean up the battlefield." After saying that, he walked towards the restriction. Lei Wuxing and Lei Wushuang followed Zi Chen. They were the only 3 people left on the Holy Thunder Clan's side in this fierce battle. Unsurprisingly, Zi Chen's battle strength had far surpassed the 2 of them. Zi Chen fully deserved the title of Ultimate Core. Zi Chen did not enter the mineral vein. As soon as he arrived at the restriction, he sat down cross-legged. Even if he broke through at the critical moment, his injuries and consumption were not small. He urgently needed to recover. This crisis was resolved this time. After the reinforcements of the Holy Thunder Clan came out to clean up the battlefield, the people of the 7 major forces had already left. The few powerful spectators in the crowd had also left. The people of the other forces were still there. Today's battle had brought them too much shock. Among them, many people were staring at the corpses in the field because these were also resources, and even a considerable amount of resources. These divine spirit corpses could be transformed into many high-quality saint crystals. It was rare for the 7 major forces to be generous enough to give up these corpses. Zi Chen, who was sitting cross-legged, suddenly opened his eyes and looked ahead. There was nothing there at all. "Come out, I can see you," Zi Chen said indifferently. Several ripples were stirred up in the space, and a person appeared. They were from the sacred star race. The other party stared at Zi Chen, his eyes filled with killing intent. Zi Chen looked at him, but he didn't move. He didn't even take the necessary precautions. He was also looking at Zi Chen. The killing intent in his eyes didn't diminish, but he didn't attack immediately, nor did he say anything. Zi Chen seemed to be very patient and not in a hurry. Finally, the young man lost his patience. "Why did you only let me go?" Previously, when the sacred star race attacked Zi Chen repeatedly used his killing moves. Only when Zi Chen attacked him did he hold back, allowing him to survive. "Would you believe me if I said that it was a coincidence?" Zi Chen said. "Do you think I'm stupid?" The other party stared coldly at Zi Chen. Zi Chen said, "If I'm not wrong, you should be called Starry Night, right?" The young man's expression changed. "How did you know? From the beginning, you wanted to kill me. It should be because of your brother, Xing Wuhan, right?" Zi Chen asked again. "So it was you who killed my brother?" Starry Night's eyes were filled with killing intent again. Zi Chen thought for a moment and said, "You can say that. Before your brother died, he asked me to go to the sacred star race to meet you if I had the chance. He said that you were a loner and didn't have many friends. He said that if we met, we might be able to become friends." "Impossible. You killed my brother. How could he tell you this? Who told you that I killed Xing Wuhan?" "That's what everyone in the race said. It was you who killed him and stole the soul-gathering crystal mine. It was you who destroyed his soul so that he didn't even have a chance to revive. Starry Night's eyes were filled with grief, but the killing intent in his eyes was not as strong as before. Zichen pointed to the side and said, "Come here. Let's hear about your brother." Starry Night hesitated for a moment before sitting beside Zichen. Thinking back to the events of the past, Zichen could only sigh. He had encountered many dangers in his life, and many had narrowly escaped death. However, the last time was when his perception of danger was the lowest. If Xing Wuhan had not awakened him, perhaps he would still be dreaming of that immortal dream until his soul dissipated. This was the truth of the past. Your brother said that you don't have many friends. Before his soul dissipated, his only hope was to go and see you. Unfortunately, I encountered all kinds of things later on. I was hunted down and kept running for my life. I didn't have the time until the last time I saw you and felt the similar aura between you and your brother. Only then did I remember your identity. By the time Zichen finished speaking, Starry Night's face was already streaked with tears. Zichen patted Starry Night's shoulder and said, "So, don't do stupid things in the future. Live well. This is your brother's greatest hope for you." Starry Night wiped away his tears and nodded seriously, "I will live, and I will live well." Zichen was somewhat gratified. This was also a kind of repayment for Xing Wuhan's life-saving grace. Zichen closed his eyes and continued to recover. He was not too wary of Starry Night. Xing Wuhan's biological brother, he believed that his character would not be bad. The others also did not pay attention to the situation here. Only occasionally, someone would cast a strange look at Starry Night. The next time Zichen opened his eyes, he found that Starry Night was still here. He was somewhat surprised. "Why didn't you leave? Almost all of our people are dead. Where else can we go?" Starry Night said tiredly. At this moment, he seemed very lost, as if he had lost his life goal. In fact, he was originally very antisocial. If he had not set his goal to kill Zichen, he would probably still live alone. Now that he suddenly knew the truth, he had no goal again. Zichen said, "I'll take you to see the mine." "Take me." Starry Night was stunned. "Are you sure?" Zichen had already stood up. "I'm just taking you to see it. There's nothing wrong with that." Starry Night was also very curious about the Heaven Crystal Mine, so he followed. Zichen brought him underground. The first thing that came into view was a transmission array. They continued to go deeper. During this time, Zichen gave Starry Night a simple introduction. Only then did Starry Night know that even if they broke through the restrictions, they would not be able to obtain the mine. The real mine was probably still at the bottom of the lake. After walking around with Starry Night, Zichen walked back and looked at Starry Night. "You're from the Sacred Star Clan. It's not appropriate for you to stay here." Zichen said, Go to the place where you live. If you want to live well, resources are indispensable. There are many opportunities here. Fight for them." Starry Night nodded and then left the restriction alone. The corpses outside had already been dealt with. He walked in the direction of the Sacred Star Clan. The news of Zichen guarding the mineral vein was still circulating. Just at this moment, a shocking piece of news came out. Chapter 4108. The show is over. Is there anything you want to say? In the secret chamber, the leader of the Holy Moon Clan looked at the crowd and asked. Everyone was silent. On this matter, no one could say anything. As the planners of the whole thing, after watching the battle from another perspective, they felt more regret than shock. Why wasn't there such a powerful Zichen in the Holy Moon Clan? He had almost single-handedly destroyed the 7 major forces and guarded the celestial crystal mine. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have believed it. The loss of the mine was a fact, and the Blood Dragon Canyon was occupied by the Holy Thunder Clan. When the Holy Thunder Clan divided into 2 groups, it was already destined. Therefore, they weren't surprised that the Blood Dragon Canyon had become the territory of the Holy Thunder Clan. What was strange and shocking was that Zichen had almost single-handedly guarded the celestial crystal mine. There was indeed nothing to say. Everyone was silent. The leader waved his hand and motioned for them to continue. In fact, He had nothing to say. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the Holy Glory clan, Yarrow Guan walked out of his own world and headed to the core area of the Holy Glory clan. He was also from the cultivation world. After he arrived at the core area, there was already a lot of discussion. Among the crowd, there was a very unique and beautiful woman called Guang Yao. After coming to the Holy Glory clan many years ago, she had shown extraordinary talent. She wasn't qualified to go to the lost world of the Holy Moon clan, so she didn't care. It wasn't until she heard about the war between the Holy Glory clan and the Holy Thunder clan that she paid attention to this matter. Of course, it was mainly because she heard Zi Chen's name. Following Yarrow Guan's arrival, everyone's gazes fell on him. If those rumors were true, Yarrow Guan had now lost his strongest physical body. Facing everyone's gaze, he still walked forward calmly. If he wanted to get the celestial crystal mine, he naturally had to pay a price, even if the price was his strongest physical body. It was just that he didn't know what the final result would be. He was calm and composed, waiting for the final news. As long as he could get the final mine, all the sacrifices would be worth it. And he was also confident that he could get the mine because he still had a backup plan. Brilliant was also in the crowd, but at this moment, her mood was complicated. She had no feelings for the Holy Thunder clan, but Zi Chen was her companion who had grown up with her. They had gone through life and death together. She didn't want anything to happen to Zi Chen, and she didn't want the Holy Glory clan to end up empty-handed. In the end, news came that Zi Chen had broken through and killed Xing Yuanqing in one move. The crowd went into an uproar. This ending was beyond everyone's expectations. Yarrow Guan shook his head and sighed, but didn't say anything else. There were regrets, but there were no regrets. The resources in this world were obtained through fighting. It was just that this time, the price he had to pay was rather high. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The same situation occurred among the other forces. Some felt regretful, and some cursed. The Holy Thunder clan, on the other hand, was filled with cheers. Like Yarrow Guan, the hundreds of experts who had lost their strongest physical bodies were even more excited. Even if they had lost their qualifications, it would still be a great achievement for them to defend the mine. Moreover, these people also knew that not only did they defend the mine, but they also seized the opportunity to occupy the Blood Dragon Canyon. Right now, they only hoped that there would be great opportunities in the canyon. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The other forces finally dispersed, but everyone felt very uncomfortable in their hearts, because just now, they had received another piece of news. The Blood Dragon Canyon had been occupied by the Holy Thunder clan. At this point, they finally understood why the Holy Thunder clan's reinforcements hadn't arrived even though such a big thing had happened. For a moment, many people were filled with regret. If they hadn't been here to watch the battle and had entered the depths earlier, they might have had their own gains. A ray of light appeared in the mine. This was a separate teleportation. It was the core of the sect, Xiaolei. After glancing at the busy people around him, he wiped a non-existent cold sweat and said, "Fortunately, it's still our own. I was really worried that when I appeared, I would see outsiders who came to divide the mine. You came at the right time. You came right after the battle. I didn't see you come before." Not far away, Lei Wushuang heard Xiaolei's muttering. Xiaolei said helplessly, "I also wanted to come, but Zi Chen didn't summon us." "By the way, where's Zi Chen?" Lei Wushuang pointed up. Xiaolei immediately went forward. "Hey, did you find anything?" Lei Wushuang suddenly asked. "There are all kinds of resources. The harvest is not small, but we have to find Zi Chen to see the specific harvest," Xiaolei said as he walked. "You have so many core pinnacle experts. Do you still need to find him? Core pinnacle experts are not treasure hunters. Besides, he is our leader in name this time. Naturally, we need him to take a look." Xiaolei's figure disappeared into the cave. Zi Chen was recovering in the seal. When he led Starry Night on a tour, he had not fully recovered. "Leader, there's progress in the Blood Dragon Canyon. We found a few places and need you to go take a look." After seeing Zi Chen, Xiaolei immediately said. No resistance. Chen sized up Xiaolei. How is that possible? The Blood Dragon Canyon is full of dangers. If not for Sir's soul weapon, we would have suffered heavy losses. Xiaolei stepped forward and said. Seeing Chen's situation, Xiaolei said, but there's no rush. Leader can recover first. With just a few hundred people, they were able to defend this mineral vein. Although Xiaolei did not see the battlefield, he could imagine the tragedy of the battle. Although Chen was in a weak state, he could clearly sense it. His unique perception was also his unique talent. Chen said, if there's no rush, I can recover first. No rush, no rush. We have already occupied that canyon. Others can't enter. The only thing we need to be wary of is the exotic beasts there. They are indeed difficult to deal with. Fortunately, we have more people, so there's no need to be afraid. Chen closed his eyes and continued to recover. During this time, he consumed another precious pill. Xiaolei did not stay idle. He returned to the underground and asked about the battle. Unfortunately, there were only 3 people alive. Naturally, he could not ask. Filled with curiosity, he could only look for Lei Wushuang. The other party just rolled his eyes and ignored him. Fortunately, Xiaolei was very familiar with Lei Wusheng. He told him about the battle. After learning that Chen killed several leaders by himself, broke through the realm and killed Xing Yuanqing, and intimidated the 9-star saint spirits hidden in other forces, he was so shocked that his eyes almost fell out. 2 hours later, when he saw Chen again, his eyes were full of worship. Sir, please come with me. Xiaolei stepped forward, looking very respectful. Don't you always call me leader? Chen glanced at Xiaolei. Calling me leader sounds distant. Calling me sir is more intimate. Xiaolei's smile did not diminish. He took out the teleportation talisman and activated it himself. As the light lit up, the two disappeared. Chapter 4109. When they arrived at the Blood Dragon Canyon, there were still several battles going on. Seeing Chen appear in a good mental state, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the mineral vein was guarded. However, they had already agreed that in times of crisis, these core members would be able to teleport over to provide support at the first moment. Chen didn't summon them for a long time. While they were nervous, everyone was actually looking forward to it. How's the situation? Chen scanned the surroundings. Most of the core disciples were gathered in this place. These core members suddenly moved aside, and the commander of the core city stood up. His armor was covered with dried bloodstains left behind by the battle. These core members didn't seem to be good at dealing with, so the commander stood up. At present, we have found a few places that might contain opportunities that haven't been excavated yet. There are also a few places that are suspected to contain opportunities, so we invited the leader to take a look. The leader has broken through? At the end of his words, the commander found something unusual. Of course, not long ago, Sir killed Xing Yuanqing in one move. Xiaolei, who was at the side, said with a smile. Xing Yuanqing. The expressions of the people around changed, and their eyes flickered a few times. The commander was even more shocked. Everyone knew the name of Xing Yuanqing. He was a very glorious existence in the past. They didn't expect that he would be killed by Chen in one move today. When they looked at Chen again, their gazes had clearly changed, and there seemed to be more respect. Let's go and take a look first. Chen nodded at everyone, then walked forward. The commander followed beside him, preparing to introduce the surrounding situation to Chen. The surroundings were filled with a thick smell of blood, and at the same time, there was a strong pressure in the air. He pointed to a place and said, "The soul power here is extremely rich, and there is a suspected earth dragon guarding it. We have just driven the earth dragon away and haven't excavated it yet." Chen had already released his soul power. The soul power here was very rich, and there were indeed good things underground. Some people were setting up arrays around. When they saw Chen arrive, they bowed to him. Chen waved his hand, indicating for everyone to continue. He followed the commander to the second place where there might be resources. The soul power here is a little different. We have already marked it and are waiting to excavate. Chen nodded. There was no lack of special existences among the core of the extreme core. There were no problems with the places they had discovered. Then, the commander pointed in 3 directions, all of which might have resources. There were still 2 places that Zichen wasn't too sure about, but after he carefully sensed them, he realized that there were also opportunities here. Finally, they arrived at the depths of the canyon. There was once a river of blood here, but under the erosion of time, it had long since dried up. The smell of blood was the thickest here. There were traces of battle all around. They were very obvious and were left behind not too long ago. The commander pointed at the canyon and said, "We found a lot of blood-colored serpents here, and they are very strong. After everyone works together to kill them, a new serpent will appear soon. But no one knows how it appeared or where it came from. We've been looking for it for a long time, but no one has a clue." The commander paused for a moment and said, "Even those with special eye techniques didn't notice anything unusual." "How's the strength of the serpent?" Zichen asked. "It's very strong, and only the extreme core can kill it. Therefore, we didn't leave anyone here. Otherwise, it would be too dangerous." Zichen had a simple understanding of this place. Just the places that were suspected to be mineral veins alone had found as many as 5 or 6. Unsurprisingly, this was indeed a treasure land. Zichen said, "Seal this place. No one is allowed to step in." The commander said, "We've already arranged for some people to go out, but the number is still not enough." Zichen said, "I'll let the people who have just arrived continue to come here. Next, our Holy Thunder clan will only excavate this Blood Dragon Canyon. We won't care about any other places." From the looks of it, the opportunities here were extremely great, and they would need to use a huge amount of power to excavate them. Under such circumstances, the Holy Thunder clan had no time to care about anything else. "Let's guard this place first. As for the excavation, let's take it slow." A light appeared in Zichen's eyes. It was the eye of destruction that could see through illusions. He carefully examined the surroundings, but he didn't see anything. At this moment, the space in front of him rippled, and a flood python appeared. Its powerful aura instantly swept the surroundings. The smell of blood became stronger. The blood-colored flood python appeared in front of Zichen. There was a hint of brutality in its cold eyes. "Is this the flood python you were talking about?" The light in Zichen's eyes dimmed as he asked indifferently. He was a little surprised by its sudden appearance. The commander nodded and said, "That's right." Lei Bao said that it seems to have inherited the blood of the blood dragon. If it is given time to grow, it has a great possibility of transforming into a blood dragon. Well, it's said to be atavistic. The spectre appeared in front of Zichen. It appeared on its own. The moment it appeared, it flew toward the flood python in front of it. The next moment, it came to the head of the flood python and opened its mouth. A blood-colored phantom of the flood python struggled to fly out of the head of the flood python and was swallowed into the spectre's stomach. After swallowing the soul of the flood python, the spectre smacked its mouth a few times. It seemed to be very satisfied with the purity of this soul. The flood python, which had lost its soul, fell to the ground with its intact body. The commander looked at this scene in shock. The flood python, which required the help of the core to deal with, died just like that. Zichen said, "It's indeed a little strange." The commander immediately stepped forward and took away the body of the flood python. He said, "This is a good thing. We need to take it out and study it carefully. We should be able to find something." In front of Zichen, a light flew out. The little elf flew out. The little elf yawned and said discontentedly, "Zichen, you disturbed my rest." Zichen glanced at her and took out 2 soul-gathering crystals. The little elf's figure flickered and disappeared. When she reappeared, her stomach was slightly bulging. The 2 soul-gathering crystals in Zichen's hand disappeared. The commander, who had just put away the body of the flood python, was stunned again after seeing this scene. 2 priceless soul-gathering crystals were gone just like that. But what surprised him more was what the little elf said next. "Don't think of asking me to help you. I'm very sleepy now. These 2 soul-gathering crystals are just compensation for waking me up." Zichen didn't speak. The light flashed in front of him again and 6 more soul-gathering crystals appeared. Just as the soul-gathering crystals appeared, Chen took a step back. The little elf in front of him had disappeared and then appeared again. In Chen's hand, the soul-gathering crystals were still there. She missed. Before eating, let's make it clear. Will you help me or not? Chen said lightly. The soul-gathering crystals in his hand flashed with dazzling light. Eat first. The little elf disappeared again. Chen took 2 steps back and protected the soul-gathering crystals again. The little elf was very discontented after reappearing. Chen said, "This is the last chance. Will you help me or not? If not, then forget it." The little elf first glared at Chen fiercely and snorted, "Yes, but we have to agree that I'll help you this time." Her figure disappeared for the 3rd time. But this time, Chen didn't retreat. So when she got the soul-gathering crystals, she didn't mean to keep them and just swallowed them all. Even the commander of the core city, who had seen too many resources, was speechless after seeing this scene today. This was too wasteful. After eating, she naturally had to work. The little elf began to look around. Her expression was casual. Obviously, she didn't look at this place seriously. After all, in terms of soul attainments, she was better than Chen. She didn't think that there would be any secrets here that would be difficult for her. But gradually, her expression became more serious because she didn't find anything. She began to move. Her figure flashed left and right, exploring the canyon below. Chen and the commander stood aside. Compared to the confused commander, Chen's expression was very calm. If even the little elf couldn't find the secret here, not to mention others, at least Chen himself didn't have the ability to do so. The little elf was searching very carefully. She looked at almost every corner. At first, she seemed to be very serious, but in the end, she seemed to be a little perfunctory. Chen's expression was no longer calm. He said discontentedly, "What's the point of looking here? Why don't you go underground and have a look?" The little elf turned around and said with a look of disdain, "What do you know?" Chen said, "I don't know, but at least I know that the opportunity is very likely to be underground." The little elf said, "Then why don't you go underground and find it?" The commander was very surprised by the conversation and attitude of the two. "I'm hungry. Give me 5 more soul-gathering crystals." The little elf flew in front of Chen and said confidently, "No." Chen was also very confident. "Then don't regret it." The little elf sneered, "In this place, except for me, no one else can find this secret. As long as you give me 5 soul-gathering crystals, you'll have to thank me for my kindness." The commander's expression changed because he wasn't sure whether this little fellow was telling the truth. Because no matter how he looked at it, the little elf didn't seem to want to find anything. "Are you kidding me?" Chen looked at the little elf. "Are you going to give it or not?" The little elf also looked at Chen. "Humph." Chen snorted and said, "You'd better not let me down." He took out 5 soul-gathering crystals. The little elf was very satisfied. After swallowing them directly, she said, "It's impossible to be disappointed. I'm just worried that you'll be scared to death. Tell me, what's here?" Seeing the little elf eat, Chen asked. "It's a boundary that appeared by chance. The python you mentioned is inside. I don't know what the specific danger is, but I will never go in." Chapter 41:10. The commander was amused. This little thing was simply a weirdo. It actually took advantage of the situation again and again, and this was something Chen could not refuse. Because the other party seemed to be telling the truth, perhaps it was true. He originally thought that Chen would continue to bargain with the other party. Who would have thought that Chen would directly take out 5 solar-massing crystals? The commander was also shocked by the amount of solar-massing crystals that Chen had. After eating, the little fairy smiled. "In the future, remember to come to me often for such things." A ray of light flew out from the little fairy's body. Ripples appeared in front of them, and a spatial passage opened. At the same time, there was an extremely rich blood aura, accompanied by the faint roar of a dragon. The passage that had just opened closed once again. The little fairy looked at Chen and said seriously, "Are you sure you want to go in now?" She looked at the commander again, and the meaning was self-evident. Let's go back first. Zichen was obviously hesitant. He did not know what dangers and opportunities there were inside. It would not do if there were fewer people. The little fairy said, in the future, every time the passage opens, one soul-gathering crystal. Its figure disappeared. The commander looked at Zichen worriedly because this place of opportunity was destined to be the harvest of the Holy Thunder Clan. However, in order to open this place, Zichen had already taken out more than a dozen soul-gathering crystals. This was a sky-high price. He did not know if the total harvest inside was enough to give to Zichen. Zichen said with a smile, "It's okay. Just treat it as feeding a pet. Anyway, I usually have to feed it." The commander gave Zichen a look of admiration. No matter how extraordinary such a pet was, he could not afford to raise it. Zichen and the commander turned back. After telling everyone to guard this place, Zichen used Little Thunder's teleportation talisman to return to the mineral vein. After exhorting Lei Wuxing a few words, Zichen ordered the reinforcements that had just arrived to set off towards the Blood Dragon Canyon. After that, he took out the lost heavenly crystal and carried out the first teleportation since the mining of the mineral vein. Light flowed and Zichen appeared on a summoning platform. Cries of surprise rang out from all around. Zichen waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to be nervous and continued with the work at hand. He left the station and went to see Lei Di. Lei Di's holy venerate aura filled the air. It was obvious that the outside world was not as calm as it seemed. The three heavenly sovereigns were standing together. After seeing Zichen, the vain ancestor pretended to be an old man and said, "Brat, you're not bad." News of what happened in the lost world spread immediately. Zichen had almost single-handedly defended the mineral vein, making him a legend. Especially when he killed Xing Yuanqing with a single move, it allowed the world to once again know of his formidable combat strength. "We managed to defend the mine, but we also suffered a lot of casualties." Zichen stepped forward and said, "Furthermore, I promised everyone that the rewards for those who die in battle will be increased by 3 times. Saint Venerable Lei Di said, "You can let someone pass on this matter to Lei Yu. Now that you are the leader, you only need to give orders. In the end, whether you earn or lose, it is also your business, Zichen." Zichen nodded, understanding what Lei Di meant. "Tell me, why did you come out this time?" Lei Di asked. "We took a dangerous risk and occupied the canyon. There are a lot of opportunities inside. I plan to completely seal off that place, so this time I'm here to ask for people," Zichen said. "How much do you want?" Lei Di did not seem surprised at all. When news of Zichen's deed spread, he had guessed the reason. Now it seemed that after taking a dangerous risk, Zichen's harvest was not small. The more, the better. Zichen already had a plan in mind. He said directly, "If you can summon a group of people from the immortal domain, that would be even better." There was a look of surprise in Lei Di's eyes. The vain ancestor jumped up and patted Zichen on the shoulder. "Brat, you're not bad. You didn't embarrass me." Back in the immortal domain, the vain ancestor was personally overseeing it. He knew very well what the Holy Thunder Clan had gained. And this time, Zichen dared to summon a group of people from the immortal domain. It seemed that his harvest was not less than the immortal domain. Of course, the soul-gathering crystal vein was not counted. Because in the entire Holy Spirit realm, there should not be a second high-quality soul-gathering crystal vein. "You have the right to make your own decisions about these things," Lei Di said again. The spirit ancestor, who was silent on the side, glanced at Lei Di. Lei Di wanted to give all the power to Zichen. On the surface, there seemed to be no problem, because Zichen was originally the leader. But looking at it from a deeper perspective, Lei Di was giving Zichen an opportunity to develop his own connections and forces. The spirit ancestor knew that Zichen had a world, but it would take a long time for that world to develop. But now, Zichen could use his identity to summon a large number of holy spirits. This was something that his world could not give. As long as Zichen took this opportunity to win over some people, then he would no longer be alone in the Holy Thunder Clan. And anyone who wanted to scheme against him would have to think twice. Not even the Lei Zheng family, who had a holy sage. After leaving Lei Di's place, Zichen called Lei Meng. Since the last time he came out, he had been dealing with the teleportation array here. Zichen said, "Send a message back immediately. I want to summon the people of the Thunder Imperial Division. Arrange a group of people for me. Also, by my order, transfer a group of people from the Immortal Domain and issue a summon order in my name. Summon the core disciples and holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan to the Lost World quickly." Zichen took out his ultimate core token and handed it to Lei Meng. Lei Meng took the token and felt that it was heavy. At that moment, he felt that Zichen had changed, but he could not tell exactly what had changed. It seemed that for a moment, Zichen had an indescribable aura of a leader. This kind of leader was not just the leader of a small team, but the leader of a large force. For example, the leader of the Holy Thunder Clan. It seemed that as long as he gave the order, the entire Holy Thunder Clan would move. He shook his head and dispelled the distracting thoughts in his mind. Then, with the help of Zichen's ultimate core token, he began to teleport back to his family. That kind of feeling was simply too good. After everyone saw the token, a respectful expression appeared on their faces. Even if they had to pay a huge price to use the teleportation array, no one dared to express their dissatisfaction. After teleporting back to the core city again and again, Lei Meng suddenly had a feeling of apprehension. Would Lord Zichen's ultimate core token work? Would the Thunder Imperial Division, which was in charge of all the resources of the Holy Thunder Clan, listen? Chapter 41:11. Lei Meng held the token up high and said loudly. In fact, he was very nervous and perturbed. Would anyone think that he was an idiot for doing such a thing? It turned out that he was thinking too much. The function of this extreme core token was far beyond his imagination. The moment he held the token up high, the guards had already saluted him respectfully. At the same time, someone retreated and went inside to call for more people. Extreme core token, that was the extreme core token. In just a moment, brilliance circulated and rays of light appeared at the entrance of the Thunder Shelter. They were all the higher-ups of the Thunder Shelter. They all rushed over at an extremely fast speed, including Grace. After seeing Zichen's extreme core token, she was a little surprised. After the higher-ups appeared, they all saluted the extreme core token. Lei Meng was very satisfied and even excited. At this moment, he felt like he was above everyone else. What orders does Lord Zichen have for us? At this moment, an old voice sounded. The crowd parted and an old man walked out. He was the highest-level existence in the Thunder Shelter. He was a senior who had never appeared in the world. After the Thunder Shelter was massacred last time, he took over everything again. Lei Meng was a little shocked. He did not expect that even the old man would come and address Zichen as Lord. For a moment, he was so shocked that he did not know what to say. It was not until the old man repeated himself that he reacted. Lord Zichen has ordered the Thunder Shelter to send a group of people to the Lost World. Lei Meng said again, still holding the extreme core token high. Lei Tsungkong accepts the order. The old man saluted the token. This was actually the greatest courtesy. Although the others were puzzled, they still followed suit and did not dare to neglect. Lei Meng left, full of confidence and righteousness. What kind of place was the Thunder Shelter? That was the place that controlled all the resources of the Holy Thunder Clan. Which one of the people there was not arrogant? But today, everyone saluted in front of him, even if it was not to him. He no longer had any qualms about going to other places. After Lei Meng left, the others looked at the old man in confusion. A extreme core token did need to be respected, but there was no need to be so respectful, right? They were from the Thunder Protector Institute. Who would dare to show them any disrespect? The old man's gaze swept past everyone's faces one by one, as if he had seen through all their thoughts. You guys, the old man shook his head and sighed. Then, he looked up at the sky. The sky was blue and cloudless, and he could not see the endless Xingchen. However, the old man still sighed. A new star is rising. Perhaps he will take over the future Holy Thunder Clan. Everyone was shocked beyond words. Take over the Holy Thunder Clan? Liz, I'll leave this matter to you. Since Lord Chen has issued an edict, it means that he has made a great discovery in the lost world. Once you're there, you must cooperate fully, the old man instructed. Yes. I'll do it right away. Grace nodded. Looking at Grace's back as she left, the old man nodded in relief. With the appearance of a new commander, she naturally needed the company of other Xingchen. Otherwise, wouldn't she be very lonely? On the same day, the Holy Thunder Clan issued another recall order. The scale of this order was comparable to the previous arrest order. Also on the same day, news of Chen's battle achievements in the Lost World spread, especially the news of Chen killing Xing Yuanqing in one move. This made many forces see the signs. The Holy Thunder Clan seemed to be ushering in a change. The unchanging situation seemed to be breaking. Amidst this, Chen's rise was inevitable. This was because not only was he an Extreme Core member, but he was also leading a group of Extreme Core members. Regardless of whether one was leaving or entering, the rule that teleportation could not be used again was once again broken by Chen. He returned to the mineral vein and personally tested the function of the summoning platform. At this moment, the reinforcements in the mineral vein had already advanced into the depths. It would take them about 10 days to reach the canyon. This was a team of nearly 10,000 people. Chen was not rich enough to allow them to teleport into the canyon at the same time. Along the way, they did not care about any resources, even if they had already sensed that there might be opportunities in some places. After receiving the order, they only had one plan, and that was to enter the Blood Dragon Canyon. Chen teleported into the canyon. At this moment, the Extreme Core members had already separated themselves, leading one small team after another, busying themselves in various places of opportunities. Seeing Chen appear, Xiaolei immediately stepped forward and asked, "Sir, when are we going to explore?" After returning, the commander informed everyone about the situation in the depths. Many Extreme Core members were filled with anticipation and wanted to explore. There's no hurry. Wait for the reinforcements to arrive and the situation here stabilizes. Chen asked, "What's the situation here?" Xiaolei spread out his hands and said, "I'm not too sure about this. That's not my specialty. The commander is in charge of everything." The commander walked in from outside the canyon and informed them of the latest situation. "Some forces have already come. They have some complaints about us occupying the canyon," the commander said. Chen did not need to care about this matter at all because the commander was more experienced than him in dealing with it. This point could be seen from the obvious decrease in the number of people in the canyon. The commander had sent out many people to intimidate them. Moreover, the people who had come so far were only a small portion. They could not do anything to the 5,000-strong army of the Holy Thunder Clan. Chen did not return. Instead, he stayed in the canyon. After investigating a few places, he began to cultivate. This breakthrough was all thanks to the gift of the Tree of Lightning. At the same time, it also proved Chen's guess. After refining his soul in the Holy Talisman realm, his true soul power was equivalent to an 8-star Holy Talisman Master. Right now, as long as he continued to increase his soul power, there would be no bottleneck to speak of. Chen also had a plan in his heart. After this matter, he wanted to make another trip to the Holy Talisman realm and strive to break through to the heaven rank in that place. Because the heaven rank in that world was equivalent to a 9-star Holy Talisman Master in this world. Time passed day by day. More and more people gathered outside the canyon. Almost all the people who had watched the battle last time had come this time. Only the 7 major forces did not come. They had become the main characters, but the prerequisite was that they had to have the guts to charge into the canyon where the Holy Thunder Clan was located. The various forces were pacing back and forth outside, hesitating until more than 10,000 reinforcements from the Holy Thunder Clan arrived. A group of over 10,000 holy spirits looked exceptionally magnificent. Just as the reinforcements arrived, Chen stood up and said, "Gather. We should go." The leaders of those teams, other than the commander, had all come. They were either core disciples or at the pinnacle of core disciples. They were considered the top existences among the various large teams. "Let's go." After gathering, Everyone came to the deepest part of the canyon. Everything in the periphery was left to the commander. Chapter 41:12. The people who came with Chen all had surprised expressions on their faces. A soul-gathering crystal was needed to open the passage. What good things were inside? At this moment, they were also full of expectations for the next trip. Because the entrance fee was too high. When the passage opened, a murderous aura surged out, accompanied by the roar of a dragon. Chen turned around and ordered, "Everyone, be careful." After the little fairy opened the passage, she disappeared. Chen flashed into the passage. He was the first to enter to explore the road and possible dangers. Then the others entered one by one. After entering this space, Chen stood there motionless. He looked up at the sky, and his eyes reflected the huge creatures. Light flashed, and one figure after another appeared behind Chen. After they appeared, their expressions were almost the same as Chen's. Everyone was shocked. In their field of vision, there were many huge creatures floating. Those were all flood dragons that had walked a very long way on the path of dragon transformation. They flew in the air, and their huge bodies made the world a little darker. The world was very oppressive. Their line of sight continued to move, looking into the distance. In their field of vision were mountains of different sizes, and on the mountains, there were many caves of different sizes. Occasionally, there would be huge creatures poking their heads out of the caves. There were giant pythons that had not yet transformed, flood pythons that had begun to transform, and some flood dragons that had walked on the path of transformation for a while. "Have we come to a world of dragons?" Ray's shocked voice came from behind. It should be said that this is the world of the blood dragon. Chen's eyes were also filled with shock. This was the place where the blood dragon fell, and it had evolved into a spatial world on its own. Moreover, there were so many creatures in this world. What realm was the blood dragon in when he was alive? A sacred venerable? But after the death of a sacred venerable, could there be such a big movement? Are these our opportunities? After the shock, everyone came back to their senses. Ray said, "Are we going to take these guys back and cultivate them into mounts?" Chen glanced at Ray and said, "Mark them first." "Huh?" Ray was stunned. "Mark it first. Otherwise, how are we going to enter next time?" Chen glared at Ray. At this moment, the light flashed again and the little fairy appeared. "Chen, are you trying to cut off my path to riches? Why? Do you think the price of one solar-massing crystal is too cheap?" Chen said indifferently, "As you can see, there is no great opportunity here, just some animals. Do you think they're worth a solar-massing crystal? Just a beast." The little fairy disdainfully said, "You don't know that you are in a treasure mountain." Chen looked at the little elf. "What do you mean?" The little elf stretched out her small hand like claws and then hooked it. Her meaning was self-evident. Xiao Lei, as well as the other extreme core and core disciples, were dumbfounded, but they didn't say anything. Instead, they quietly listened to the conversation between the elf and the human. "How much?" Chen asked. The little elf gestured one. "A solar-massing crystal?" Chen asked again. The little fairy disdainfully said, "You have the nerve to say that. It's 100. The people behind sucked in a breath of cold air. 100 solar-massing crystals, even extreme core disciples couldn't take out that much. Chen's pet wasn't big in size, but its price was not small. Chen shook his head. "No." The corners of the little elf's mouth curled up into a smile. "Then 110 pieces it is." Chen looked at the little fairy. "Are you crazy?" The others were also surprised. This little thing was too weird. It didn't even know how to cut the price. Chen wasn't willing to take out 100, so how could it be willing to take out 110 solar-massing crystals? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't it say 90? Who knew that the little fairy didn't have the slightest intention of explaining? 120. Chen's expression changed. This time, he tactfully didn't say anything. The little fairy seemed to want to raise the price again. Chen immediately took out 120 solar-massing crystals. They floated in front of him, shining brightly. The rippling light of soul power was intoxicating. This was the thing that Saint Talisman Masters cared about the most, even if it was the lowest grade. For some small families, such a piece of soul-amassing crystal could even be regarded as an inheritance treasure. Everyone was stunned. It was given out just like that. Zichen wished he could slap himself a few times. Why didn't he just take out 100 earlier? Why did he have to drag it out and cost him another 20? The little fairy opened its mouth and sucked. The 120 soul-amassing crystals were all swallowed by it. Its stomach was obviously bulging. Ignoring the strange expressions of the people around, the little fairy said, "You should thank me. It's just 120 soul-amassing crystals. The information you got is too worth it." Then, it pointed to the sky and said, "Go up and try fighting." "Are you sure?" Zichen looked at the little fairy. "If we make a move now, it will definitely cause chaos. Do you want us to go back to where we came from?" The little fairy said, "Are you stupid? Don't you know how to fight alone?" Zichen turned around and glanced at the crowd. Many of them turned their heads away, obviously trying to hold back their laughter. Zichen's reputation was like the sun in the sky. His status was also among the saint spirits in the entire saint spirit realm. But today, he was being taught a lesson by a pet beast. Zichen ignored the crowd and ran to the back. Obviously, he was going to choose a target. The little fairy followed Zichen. Seeing this, the others also began to retreat. In Zichen's vision, a dragon about 100 feet long gradually left the group and flew into the distance. A long staff appeared in Zichen's hand. His eyes became cold. With a tap of his foot, he soared into the sky. The long staff in his hand burst out with golden light. As the staff fell, a golden staff shadow appeared between heaven and earth. The powerful soul power contained in it made the faces of the people below change. The staff shadow sank into the dragon's body. The powerful force pushed the dragon's body back dozens of feet. The dragon, which was almost unaffected, was enraged. It turned around and swung its tail at Zichen. Pa! A powerful force was transmitted into Zichen's body, shaking his body and sending him flying nearly 100 feet away. The people below were stunned. With Zichen's powerful combat strength, he couldn't do anything to the dragon. How strong was it? If all the dragons here were this strong, how could they fight? Who knew that at this moment, the little fairy's voice sounded again. "Are you stupid? Using soul power to fight a guy without a soul? When you just came in, was your head squeezed by the spatial gate?" Zichen withdrew his soul power. Suddenly, a powerful aura surged from his body. This aura had an ancient feeling, as if an ancient existence had awakened. The power of ancient thunder and fire. After this aura appeared, there seemed to be some chaos in the world. The exotic beasts in the distance seemed to be extremely uneasy. Zichen soared into the sky again. It was still the staff from before, but this time, it was driven by the power of thunder and fire. When the staff fell, it was as if thunder exploded in the sky. The dragon's body collapsed with a bang, as if it was formed by illusory energy. Chapter 41:13. It was a real light of power, blooming with a bright blood-colored light. In addition to the rich blood aura, there was also a pure dragon aura contained in it. The flood dragon was gone, only this power was left. Zichen stood in the air and put away the long rod. After seeing the light of power, he paused slightly. "What is this?" He walked forward and took the light of power in his hand. This power was indeed real, and it was somewhat hard to the touch. The little fairy flew in front of Zichen and said, "You still don't know? This is power. Try refining it, I guarantee you will be surprised." The power of thunder flames appeared from the palm of his hand and swept away the light of power. In the next moment, the light of power disappeared. The little fairy looked at Zichen and asked, "How do you feel?" After the power entered his body, it was absorbed by Zichen's ancient power of thunder flames. Zichen carefully sensed it, shook his head and said, "I don't feel anything." "That's impossible." The little fairy said in disbelief, "That is the power of essence. Although it is different from soul power, it has the aura of essence. Once it is successfully refined, Your power will also be assimilated and have the unique characteristics of the power of essence. To put it bluntly, it will make you stronger. Zichen shook his head, indicating that he really didn't feel that way. Impossible. The little fairy looked up and down at Zichen. Although I have never seen this kind of power, it is the same as the soul power of essence. Could it be that the essence of your power is higher than it, so it can't be assimilated by it? Zichen understood now. The power he cultivated was the power of ancient thunder flames. This kind of power was extremely high grade, and the power from before was torn apart and refined as soon as it entered his body. The two were not on the same level at all. After knowing all kinds of reasons, he chose a target again. After killing the second target, Zichen brought this power down. His gaze swept through the crowd, obviously hesitating who to test it on. The little fairy's meaning was very clear, and Zichen also understood. Now that he was choosing a target, Zichen was a little troubled. Because the first one he chose was obviously the weakest. He couldn't possibly let everyone compete on the spot. He thought for a moment and said, "Who wants to refine this power and see what effect it has?" In the crowd, everyone looked at each other, and then a core disciple walked out. He was from the Gila family. The Lord had purposely given a few more slots to the Gila family during the last recruitment. Furthermore, his family had instructed him to be more loyal to Lord Zichen than anyone else. Now that Zichen needed someone, he stood up and said, "I'll give it a try." Zichen smiled at the other party and then passed the power to him. The Holy Spirit of the Gila family thanked him and took it. Then, he began to refine it in front of everyone. However, his refining speed wasn't as fast as Zichen's, and he wasn't as relaxed as Zichen's. As he sat cross-legged, the power in his body began to vibrate. During the vibrations, a wave of dragon chi was released from his body. Sensing this aura, Zichen's expression changed. The expressions of the others also changed. The little elf said, "Do you see it now?" No one went to hunt anymore. Everyone was waiting for some kind of change. Zichen's eyes were also filled with anticipation. If everything was as the little elf said, then this place was definitely a great place of opportunity. This was because all those whose power quality was inferior to the power here could benefit greatly from this place. Their overall combat strength should also be improved. However, no one knew how much the improvement would be. They had to wait and see. After about an hour, the other party opened his eyes. Zichen asked, "How's the situation?" The other party released the aura around him, and a wave of dragon chi appeared. From the current perception, our overall combat strength has increased by about 10%. Moreover, that power hasn't been completely refined. I estimate that it can increase our combat strength by another 10%, the other party said excitedly. He wanted to solve everyone's problems, but he didn't expect to gain such a huge benefit for no reason. An increase of 10% in overall combat strength was a huge improvement. Moreover, just one power could increase their combat strength by 20%. This effect was huge. If all the core disciples of the Holy Thunder Clan were to refine the power here, their overall combat strength would increase by 20%. They would definitely be able to suppress the disciples of other clans of the same level. This was an amazing discovery and also an amazing opportunity. To Zichen, it was completely useless. However, looking at the entire Holy Thunder Clan, this was indeed an opportunity that could increase the strength of the entire clan. The others obviously understood the role of this opportunity, and their eyes lit up. There was silence all around. Everyone was surprised by the great opportunity here. The little elf said proudly, "How is it? Compared to the opportunity here, such a small amount of soul-gathering crystals is nothing at all, right?" Soul-gathering crystals were priceless. Moreover, Zichen had consumed more than 100 soul-gathering crystals this time. These more than 100 soul-gathering crystals could only make more than 100 holy talisman masters stronger. However, the opportunity here could increase the overall combat strength of the entire Holy Thunder Clan. The value was obvious at a glance. Although the little elf was very cunning, it had to be said that the price was fair. Zichen looked at the crowd and said, "In that case, let's get started. Before the people from the Thunder Defense Department come here, Everyone can freely use 2 strands of demonic dragon power. Naturally, no one had any objections. This was equivalent to Chen giving them extra benefits. It was not included in the reward. Among them, the people from the Gra clan were the most excited. This was because he had refined 1 strand of demonic dragon power earlier. Now, he could get 2 more strands of demonic dragon power. Chen waved his hand and motioned for everyone to move. Chen's gaze was fixed on the mountain peaks in front of him. He was a little curious. What kind of secret was hidden in this place that could give birth to such a magical demonic dragon power? The little elf flew to Chen's side and said, "Do you want to go in and see what's inside?" Chen suddenly thought of something and said loudly, "Little Lei, mark it first." If he didn't mark it, he would have to pay soul-gathering crystals the next time he came in. The little elf curled her lips and said, "Your stingy look is really ugly." Chen didn't reply. There weren't many people in this world who could afford to raise a little elf. This was because this place wasn't like the Holy Talisman realm. There were things that could increase one's soul power everywhere. "I'm going to look for food. If there's anything, send me a message in advance." The little elf said, "But if you want me to go, you'll have to pay at least a few dozen soul-gathering crystals." Chen waved his hand and said, "Forgive me for not sending you off. Oh, stay far away from the canyon. Don't cause trouble in your own territory." The little elf stared at Chen. Chapter 41:14. To deal with the flood dragons, one needed to rely on one's own strength. This was a much easier task for everyone. Those extremely powerful core forces could be unleashed without reservation in this place. While everyone was fighting, Chen, the leader, didn't make a move. He looked ahead and thought. Little Fairy had already left. It had the ability to rely on itself here. The spirit robe on his body was flickering, expressing its dissatisfaction. Because Little Fairy had obtained too many benefits recently, but it had nothing. Even if there was no merit, it should have worked hard. Chen took out a few blue star coins and fed them to the other party. After a while, Little Lei came close and said, "Sir, the people from the Thunder Defense Department are here. Do you want to meet them?" "Yes." The Thunder Defense Department is in charge of the resources of the Holy Thunder Clan and has great authority. The resources mined this time and how to convert them to contribution points needs to be connected with the people from the Thunder Defense Department. The passage has been completed. You can enter and leave at any time. Little Lei said. This is his unique talent. I will remember your contribution. Chen left this world and went to meet the people from the Thunder Defense Department. To his surprise, the person he saw turned out to be Grace. "Why are you here?" Chen was surprised. "Why? Am I not welcome?" Grace smiled. "No." Chen stepped forward. Behind Grace, a group of people from the Thunder Defense Department bowed to Chen. "After receiving your order, Sir arranged for us to come here." Grace said, "What we didn't expect was that there would be so many resources here. Although we have just arrived, we have to say that we don't have enough manpower. But don't worry, I have already arranged for others to go back. The second group will be here soon. I can rest assured. Let's go, I will take you to those resource lands to take a look." Chen walked forward. Grace turned to look at the others and said, "Everyone, familiarize yourself with the environment here first. We will talk about it when we come back." Next, Chen took Grace to visit the entire Blood Dragon Canyon. The number of opportunities here really surprised her. Even though he had anticipated this, he had still underestimated this place. Especially after entering the world with the dragon murderous energy, her eyes were filled with shock as she looked at the flood dragons in her field of vision. After thoroughly understanding this place, Grace's mood gradually recovered. "What do you think of the resource allocation?" Chen was a little confused. Grace said, "There is a special distribution plan for opportunities in the Thunder Shelter. For example, you, as the leader, are entitled to a share of the discoveries here. The ratio varies, with the highest being 30% and the lowest being less than a first-class share. For example, in this place, you, as the leader, can only get 30% of the total profit." Chen said doubtfully, "There's such a distribution plan?" The Holy Thunder Clan has existed for many years. This kind of situation has happened countless times. We have a complete plan long ago. She looked ahead and said, there are enough opportunities here, but the consumption of manpower is also great. For example, the core experts who come here have a standard every time they go out on a mission. Regardless of whether the mission failed or not, they still had to be given a certain amount of resources. However, according to the resources here, it's not a problem for you to get 30% alone. As for the other places of opportunity, if only a few core experts go there, then you can also get 30% of the profit alone. Zichen said, you can deal with these as you see fit. Grace said, then I'll do my best to let you monopolize 30% of the profits in every land of opportunity. Of course, I can't guarantee it completely because there are too many people here this time. Every day they stay here will be an extremely huge expense, and these expenses will also be counted on your head. However, once the profit is considerable, you can get an additional commission when you take your share after the event. As for the amount, it depends on the final profit conversion. Grace smiled and said, we, the Thunder Shelter, came here after hearing the edict, and we need you to pay for it. Even because we are out on business, the reward will be much higher than usual. Zichen had a headache. He didn't care about this kind of thing before. He didn't expect it to be so complicated and detailed. Zichen said, then I'll have to trouble you. Grace said, there's nothing wrong with what you said. This is our profession, so we will do everything in detail. What you have to do as the leader is to lead the others to constantly unearth new resources. In history, there have been many people who led a team out but ended up losing money. Zichen was puzzled. There are losses when looking for resources. Grace said, there are many people who died in battle, so it's natural to lose money. More than 500 people died in the last battle. Their compensation is not small, and you asked for an additional 3 times. This is a huge expense. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't have been able to guard that mineral vein, let alone occupy the Blood Dragon Canyon. Moreover, that's what we agreed on before. The compensation given to them can't be less. Zichen said in a deep voice. Grace nodded, indicating that she understood. Zichen suddenly thought of something and said, when it comes to compensating them, the Thunder Defense Department won't do anything to them, right? Grace said, it's impossible to say that there won't be any at all. Zichen said, you even dare to take this kind of money? They died in battle for the Holy Thunder Clan. Grace said helplessly, if the water is too clear, there won't be any fish. It's impossible to say that there won't be any at all. Even if we compensate according to the original price, there might be some people who will secretly send back some rebates. This kind of thing can't be stopped. We can only do our best to not let their interests be damaged. Grace paused for a moment and said, the possibility of their interests being damaged is not high. After all, there is a clear amount. On the other hand, your side may be the one who loses the most. What do you mean? For example, if someone secretly increases the amount of compensation, won't it be fine? Grace said, don't worry about this kind of thing. Let's not talk about others first. At least with me here, your losses will be minimized. If you don't trust others, you have to trust me, right? Then I'll have to trouble you. Zichen really didn't know so many twists and turns because he had always been a hands-off shopkeeper. After you go back, remember to treat me to a meal. Grace turned and left. Soon, she came in with a group of people. Compared to other places, this place had the most resources, and it was also the place where Zichen was most likely to gain the most benefits, so she had to keep an eye on it personally. This was because every time the dragon demon power was reduced, it was a great loss for Zichen. When Grace learned that Zichen had privately promised to give each person 2 strands of dragon demon power, she immediately felt distressed. Because receiving 2 strands was the same as receiving 3, and there was no external supervision, everyone's self-awareness was naturally reduced. Chapter 41:15. Su Mengyaro, Zhong Haotian, Lin Shui and the others were undoubtedly his own people. Therefore, when it came to resources, Zichen had never haggled with anyone. He had never even asked about it. Everyone's resources were shared. Of course, Monk was an exception. But after hearing Grace's explanation of these things, he realized that there were so many things to pay attention to. However, Chen would not change his mind on the matter of compensation. Because no matter what happened to those people, at least in the aspect of protecting the interests of the Holy Thunder Clan, everyone was the same. When facing the 7 great forces, they were willing to give their lives to him. Chen's original plan was to go to the depths of this world to take a look, but after telling Grace, she said that there was no need to do so. Anyway, the world had already been occupied by them, and it was right here, so there was no need to worry for the time being. She said that Chen's current task should be to leave the canyon and explore other places to try to find more opportunities. Chen felt that there was no need to be in such a hurry, but Grace told him that whether he could take this opportunity to rise up and become an important existence in the Holy Thunder Clan depended on this. Although individual combat strength was also a symbol of status, as long as one had not reached the level of a holy master, their influence was far less important than that of a force. Therefore, Chen had to listen to Grace's words and leave the Blood Dragon Canyon, heading deeper into the canyon. Outside the canyon, the people of the Holy Thunder Clan were still guarding this place, but there were fewer people eyeing them covetously from the periphery. Even if these people were on guard duty, they still had income every day. Chen, who had never cared about this kind of thing, found that there were expenses everywhere after hearing the details from Grace. Fortunately, there was a lot of income every day. Asterisk 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 we miscalculated again. In the secret chamber, the leader of the Holy Moon Clan said angrily, "Why did we miscalculate in this direction?" The others were also in a depressed mood. In fact, it was not that the Holy Moon Clan had not mined the resources in this direction, but the price they paid was too high. Relatively speaking, the gains in the other directions were not small. He didn't expect that the Holy Thunder Clan would make such a huge discovery here after it was made public. First, it was the Celestial Crystal Mine. This was equivalent to the Holy Thunder Clan tearing off a huge chunk of their flesh. Right now, he had actually discovered the dragon killing power. Moreover, it was an opportunity that could greatly increase one's strength. Its value had even surpassed that of a celestial crystal mine. Where could he go to reason with this? In this world, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall. The news about the demonic dragon force had already been leaked. After many people entered this place, even after going through layers of screening, the news still leaked out. But they couldn't find anything. Therefore, outside the Blood Dragon Canyon, there were more and more forces eyeing them covetously. Thus, the reinforcements who had originally planned to withdraw to mine the mines could only continue to be stationed in the surroundings. Unknowingly, this increased the expenditure. During this period of time, the Holy Thunder Clan kept sending holy spirits into this place. In addition to the high-level holy spirits, there were also some low-level holy spirits. They were not here to fight, but to mine. If the quality of the ore vein wasn't high enough, then it would only be a loss. Ever since the last defeat, the other forces had left again and didn't come looking for trouble. This disappointed many people who were waiting to see the big fight. However, all of this was within reason because the various major forces had come here to seek wealth, not to engage in battle. There were also some rumors that although the major forces were defeated, the Holy Thunder Clan had also taken out some compensation this time. These guys are really thieves. Chen, who had already left the canyon for many days, teleported back after learning that the news had been leaked. He needed to personally guard this place. Lei Wusheng stood beside Chen. As for the Celestial Crystal Mine, he handed it over to Lei Wusheng for her to be in charge. And the leader of each place would receive additional rewards. This was also what Grace had said before. They had their own standards. For example, Lei Wusheng was the pinnacle of the core, and she was the leader guarding the mine. That was the pinnacle of the core. What do you mean? Lei Wusheng asked. I went to the depths to take a look. There weren't many forces inside, and there were even many forces wandering around nearby. Chen's lips curled into a cold smile. They are obviously waiting for the vestigial clan to come out again. At that time, they will be the first to escape and expose us. And their ultimate goal is to snatch the mine that belongs to us after we are unable to resist and retreat. So, You have been transferring people here all this time to prevent a possible war? Zichen sighed when he heard this. The people who came every day were all expenses. He didn't know about this before and didn't care about this kind of thing. Now that he knew, he really felt distressed. The way he looked at Lei Wuxing changed a little. Lei Wuxing said, "Why, is there something on my face?" Zichen said, "Ever since I listened to Grace's words, every time I see you, the pinnacle of the core, I no longer see people, but resources that are constantly flowing away." Lei Wuxing said with a smile, "That can't be helped. Who asked you, the leader, to wave your hand and not want anything else but the pinnacle of the core? Now, the news has spread. I heard that many of the pinnacle of the core have completed their tasks and returned ahead of time, waiting for Zichen's call." Zichen was even more worried. Of course, he wanted the pinnacle of the core. They were real powerhouses. It was because of them that the Holy Thunder Clan was able to occupy the Blood Dragon Canyon in the first place. But they were also really expensive. The current Zichen wanted people, but he didn't want to pay too much. How distressing. Lei Wuxing said with a smile, "For the sake of friends, why don't you forget about me?" Zichen waved his hand and said, "Forget it, it's not like there's one more. And what if I don't pay you and you slack off?" Lei Wuxing laughed and said, "It seems that our leader Zichen is really rich and overbearing." Zichen said, "Rich and overbearing, my ass. Grace said that if I paid all the people I found this time, I would probably lose half of the Tianwu world." Lei Wuxing was stunned. "What does that mean?" Zichen said, "There are 3 Saint Venerables outside." Lei Wuxing immediately understood. 3 Saint Venerables were present, and they were personally overseeing this place. If they really wanted to pay them, they would really lose a world. "Are we just going to wait like this?" Lei Wuxing looked at the scene outside and asked. Zichen said, "Let's wait and see. These guys are really good. If you guys continue to go deeper, you might be able to find a greater opportunity. What's the point of waiting here?" Chapter 41:16. In the meeting hall, the atmosphere was depressing. Silence dominated the atmosphere. The 8 leaders of the 8 directions had all retreated. According to the original plan, after they drove the Holy Spirits out, they would retreat and prepare for the second attack. They never thought that they would be defeated before they could drive the Holy Spirits out. During this period, the leader of the Southeast was the one who lost the most. His face was gloomy as he said coldly, "Last time was just an accident. Give me more people and I will kill them all." The others were still silent. In fact, they had seen many problems from the last battle. For example, although the people who came this time were all Holy Spirits, they were different from the previous ones. They had their own forces, and there were many of them, much more than before. One of them said, "Ao-san, you are too impulsive. The humans who came this time are different from the last time." The leader of the Southeast was Ao-san. He stared at the one who spoke, "Aogut, what do you mean? Are they not humans?" Aogut said, "Of course they are humans. But there are more of them than last time. According to our intelligence, there are a lot of humans coming in every day. They are completely different from the ones we dealt with before. So what if there are more of them? If they didn't join forces to attack me last time, I wouldn't have lost so much." Ao-san said loudly, "As long as you give me more people, I promise to drive them all out." The others were still silent. They didn't say anything. About a quarter of an hour later, the 9th person appeared at the door. Seeing the 9th person, the 8 people stood up and greeted him. The other person nodded, walked forward indifferently, and sat down at the head of the table. The 8 people sat on 2 sides. "Tell me what you found." The other person sat down and said indifferently. Everyone expressed their opinions and thoughts. Among them, Ao-san was still the one who wanted to fight. The leader, who was sitting at the head of the table, gently tapped on the table and said, "According to the information we received, although the number of humans who came this time is large, they are not very united with each other. There was even a bitter internal strife." The 8 people's faces changed. Obviously, they didn't know this information. "Maybe we can't drive them out this time, but we still have to let them know the strength of the ancient races." The leader stood up and gave the final word, "Attack again." "Yes." The 8 of them stood up and agreed in unison. Since it was an order from above, they naturally had to obey. Outside the Blood Dragon Canyon, Zichen was still worried. Those people who were eyeing them covetously might not have dared to charge into the canyon, but they didn't do anything. They just stayed here and didn't leave. This was somewhat disgusting. However, this was not entirely a bad thing. At the very least, the other strange beasts and the lost race would not dare to come here again because they could not get close to this place at all. Zichen wasn't stupid enough to treat them as free guards. After all, the current Holy Thunder Clan didn't have enough manpower, especially after all the resources were excavated at the same time. This was because Zichen couldn't afford any delays. Every day of delay was a sky-high expense for him. According to Grace's assessment, he could not monopolize 30% of the resources found in every place. In some places, he could only get as much as 10%, and this was under the condition that he managed it well. Although Zichen had participated in the previous trip to the Immortal Domain and found a lot of resources, he had not been in the name of the leader at that time. Moreover, all the gains and losses were borne by the Holy Thunder Clan. However, it was different this time. Zichen came here as the leader, and everything was decided by him. All the big and small matters added together were troublesome and complicated, and he even had to consider some of the ways of the world. Compared to the other forces, the Holy Thunder Clan had the most people here because they controlled a celestial crystal mineral vein. At the same time, their burden was also the least. However, compared to the big picture that Zichen had spread out, these people were obviously not enough. Therefore, Zichen spent almost every day in entanglement and contradiction. As for the other forces that were eyeing covetously, they were almost praying every day that the Vestigial Clan would come out again and take away everything that the Holy Thunder Clan currently had. If the Blood Dragon Canyon and the Celestial Crystal Mineral Vein were lost, many forces would be extremely happy. It was unknown whether or not the prayers had worked, but the people they had arranged in the depths finally made a discovery. The Vestigial Clan launched a large-scale attack again. As soon as they received the news, the people of the various forces decisively retreated. All the holy spirits in sight had retreated, and the canyon immediately became quiet. This made Zichen a little uncomfortable. He smiled slightly and said self-deprecatingly, "At least we saved some people from scouting for information." Then, everyone gathered. The extremely powerful core members walked out of the resource lands and came to meet Zichen outside the canyon. Even Grace had come. If a battle were to break out, everyone's credit would need to be calculated. Lei Wusheng came close and said, "Because there are no obstacles, they can arrive in one day at the earliest." When the others heard this, their expressions changed. They were obviously surprised by the speed of the Vestigial Clan's advance. Lei Wusheng said again, "All the other forces have withdrawn, and it seems that they intend to retreat to the back of the Celestial Crystal Mineral Vein. Do we need to send more people there?" Zichen shook his head and said, "That's not necessary. As long as we don't lose here, the back will be safe. Even if they covet the Celestial Crystal Mineral Vein, they won't dare to attack at will. There are still rules. After all, once they break the rules, our Holy Thunder Clan won't need to abide by them." Zichen led his people to the other side of the canyon to deal with the Vestigial Clan, exposing their back. Behind them, other than some intelligence personnel, everyone else had retreated. During this period, some people who were good at concealment planned to sneak into the canyon quietly, but they were all caught by Xiaolei. Even if he was going all out to face the Vestigial Clan, Zichen was still on guard against the other forces' little tricks. The Vestigial Clan appeared in his field of vision. They were a dark mass, like a torrent. They rampaged along the way without encountering any obstacles. They had the intention to break through the Holy Thunder Clan's defense army and kill their way to the outside world. Zichen's figure rose into the air. His whole body lit up with golden light, which was particularly eye-catching. "Let your leader come out and talk." Zichen's voice sounded, exploding in front of them like a clap of thunder. A powerful shockwave surged forward. Wherever it passed, grass and trees would fall and withered leaves would fly into the air. Chapter 41:17. The vestigial clan army at the front had just shown signs of slowing down when a roar came from behind. As a result, they sped up again. Zichen's eyes became cold. He raised his palm. Behind him, all the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder clan released their aura. The aura of more than 10,000 holy spirits gathered together, crushing the clouds in the sky. The endless thunderous pressure spread in all directions like the might of the heavens. Just as this pressure reached its peak, Zichen, who was standing in the air, shouted angrily, "Do you dare to fight me?" His voice seemed to merge with the Holy Spirit pressure of 10,000 people. As it rolled forward, the pressure it brought was like a real wave of air sweeping across. The vestigial clan soldiers at the front were sent flying backward. During this time, blood flowed out of their 7 orifices. By the time his body hit the ground, he had already lost all signs of life. One word from him had destroyed their souls. The vestigial clan army that was rushing forward was in chaos. The others could not help but stop. They all looked at Zichen, who was standing in the air, in shock. In the blink of an eye, the army stopped. The Holy Spirit spies who were in charge of monitoring at the rear were also stunned when they saw this scene. Their indomitable momentum was stopped just like that. The Holy Moon clan spectators in the secret chamber were also very surprised. Zichen looked forward, waiting for the leader of the opposite side to appear. Ao-san flew up and looked coldly at Zichen. "So it's you." Zichen had seen him last time. At that time, the two had not fought. After Ao-san made a threatening gesture, he took his people and fled. Therefore, he recognized him at a glance. "I let you go last time, but you're still not satisfied. Now you're standing in front of us. Are you courting death?" Ao-san said coldly. Zichen said, "As for the matter of courting death, we can discuss it later. My name is Zichen. I'm the leader of the Holy Thunder clan." "Holy Thunder clan?" Ao-san stared at Zichen. "That's right. We come from the same tribe, and we're all proficient in using the power of lightning." Zichen pointed at the sky, and a bolt of lightning shot up and exploded in the sky. Ao-san snorted, "It's just a small trick." Zichen didn't get angry and continued, "I'm not standing here today to start a war with you. It would be best if we could sit down and discuss this." Ao-san mocked, "What's there to discuss between us?" Zichen said, "As long as you retreat this time, I, Zichen, can guarantee that I will not kill a single lost clan member as I continue to go deeper." Ao-san snorted, his eyes cold, "You are invaders, what right do you have to say such things?" Zichen said, "We are only here for money, not to kill. As long as you agree to leave now, we promise to live in peace with you. You're destroying our home, yet you still want to live in harmony with us. You sure know how to tell jokes." Ao-san said, "Are you humans also laughable?" Zichen said calmly, "The resources here have been here for many years, yet you've never discovered them. It's obvious that they're not important to you. Even if they're not important, they're still our things. Why should we give them to you?" Ao-san said, "How about you give us your place to live? If that's what you want, I can take you away and arrange a new place for you to live." While the two leaders were talking, the surroundings were quiet, but no one relaxed because the moment the conversation ended, the battle would begin. Just as Ao-san said, the two sides had different standpoints, and it was almost impossible for them to sit down and talk. Speaking of which, they were the invaders, while the lost ones were merely defending their homeland. But in this kind of thing, there was no right or wrong. Everything was about benefits and resources. On the path of cultivation, resources were fought for. Of course, it could also be said that they were plundered. Cut the crap. We're the great lost clan members of the ancient times. We have nothing to talk about with you humans. Get out of the way, or die. Ao-san was getting impatient. Zichen said, "How about this? We'll retreat into the canyon, and you can go around from the side. We'll mind our own business." Ao-san, who was running out of patience, was stunned. Wasn't it supposed to be a fight between two opposing sides? At the back, many spies were secretly cursing. Obviously, Zichen was too shameless. He didn't care about righteousness and chose to retreat. Zichen said, "I've said it before. We're only here for wealth, not to kill. He stretched out 2 fingers and said, "We've occupied 2 places here. The first is this canyon, and the second is where you and I met. As long as you don't go in either direction, we promise we won't take the initiative to attack." "Why should I trust you?" Ao-san said, his firm killing intent wavering. "You don't trust me, you trust us." Zichen pointed behind him and said, "Trust our reputation. Trust our Holy Thunder clan's unshakable reputation." Ao-san smiled playfully. "So you're saying that you're a reputable figure?" Zichen said, "Not that great, but I'm definitely a man of my word." The spies at the back were sweating in their hearts. Obviously, they didn't want Ao-san to agree. Ao-san laughed. "We're here to kill. Since you're a reputable figure, why should I give up what's near and seek what's far away? If we slaughter all of you, I'm sure the others will be scared out of their wits, right?" Zichen looked at Ao-san. "Are you serious?" Ao-san restrained his smile and said proudly, "We'll kill you first to establish our dominance. If we fail, we'll slaughter all the invaders." Zichen sighed and shook his head. This guy's brain didn't seem to be very bright. Deep in his heart, Zichen also felt that what Ao-san said was quite right. If the two of them were in a different situation, he might have made the same choice. But the premise was that he had to understand the combat strength of both sides. Ao-san said angrily, "Kill, leave no one alive. You're the one who's courting death." Zichen's voice carried some regret. Then, like a flash of lightning, he flew forward. "You're courting death." Ao-san was obviously not afraid of Zichen. He also flew in the direction of Zichen. The two of them made contact in the air. Infinite light burst out, dazzling everyone's eyes. Many people subconsciously closed their eyes. When the infinite light dissipated, Zichen stood behind Ao-san. The two of them had their backs to each other. Time seemed to have stopped. The two of them stood there motionless. The vestigial clan members who had just begun to move stopped again. Everyone looked up at the sky. In their eyes, time only stopped for a moment before everything returned to normal. Zichen's robe fluttered. He had an indescribable and unique temperament. Ao-san, whose back was facing Zichen, was enveloped by gravity and smashed to the ground. With a bang, smoke and dust flew. Chapter 41:18. Ao-san was the leader of the Lost Clan. He was extremely belligerent and had extraordinary combat strength. He had led the Lost Clan to participate in many battles with the Holy Moon Clan's holy spirits. Countless human holy spirits had died at his hand. But they didn't expect that today's battle would result in death. Having lost their backbone in an instant, the Lost Clan were at a loss and were all stunned. The holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan were excited. If they were a little nervous when the battle broke out before, then now that Zichen had killed their leader in one move, they had absolute confidence that they could beat the Lost Clan back if the battle broke out again. This was a high morale. The spies in the distance were still very excited because the negotiations had failed and the two sides were about to go to war. Once the Holy Thunder Clan suffered heavy losses, their plan would succeed. Who would have thought that the next moment would be such an ending? They had never seen Zichen's powerful combat strength. After seeing it with their own eyes, there was only shock in their eyes. Zichen stood in the air, looked at the Lost Clan below, and said, "Is there anyone else who has the final say?" All the Lost Clan members turned their heads and looked around, looking at each other. After losing their leader, Ao-san, who dared to stand up? The leader of the team? There were many, but who dared to represent the team at this time? Ao-san had died in one blow. Could they block one blow? Just as the group fell silent, a person suddenly flew into the air. He looked at Zichen and said, "You just killed our leader. Don't tell me you have other ideas." Zichen looked at the person and said, "No, but I have a suggestion. As I said before, you all retreat and we will mind our own business." The other person said, "It seems that you didn't say that just now. You said that you could retreat and let us continue to move forward." Zichen said, "This sentence is still valid now. As long as you don't trouble the Holy Thunder Clan, then I don't mind retreating to the canyon. You can do as you please. But why should I believe you? You are invaders, and we are just defending our homeland. Once we bypass you, who can guarantee that you won't continue to attack us? When the time comes, we will be attacked from the front and back, and there will be no possibility of survival. Back to the previous topic, there was still the issue of trust between the two sides. Zichen said with a smile, "The reputation of our big clan is our face. Life and death are just a small matter to us. Face is the most important thing." Many people at the back started cursing when they heard this. Last time, Zichen had said that face was nothing compared to life. Moreover, this guy had obviously betrayed everyone for the benefit of the Holy Thunder clan. Since that's the case, let's go back and discuss it first. The temporary leader said. Zichen said, "That's fine. I'll pass down the order. From now on, we won't be enemies with you. I didn't promise you anything, and my words don't count." The other party turned around, looked at the crowd and said, "Everyone, retreat first. We'll discuss the rest later. You guys, go and bring the leader's body back." Zichen's figure also landed on the ground, and he turned around to return. Someone from the back came forward and took Ao-san's body away. Approaching the crowd, Zichen said, "Let's retreat." Everyone began to retreat back into the Blood Dragon Canyon. The people at the back were confused. Why did they retreat just like that? Why didn't they continue to fight? At the same time, the Lost Clan also retreated in the opposite direction. The leader, who came from nowhere, was the one who retreated the fastest. They really retreated just like that. Lei Wusheng still couldn't believe it. After all, they were all prepared to fight to the death. They should have retreated. Zichen said with a smile, or rather, the second leader is smarter than the first. He obviously had the intention to retreat, but he still insisted on making the Holy Thunder Clan an enemy again. The last explanation was completely superfluous, because the other party wouldn't move forward at all. But since the other party was willing to retreat, Zichen was also willing to give the other party face. As for making enemies, he didn't care at all. Those guys didn't see the Holy Thunder Clan as an ally, and Zichen certainly wouldn't care about them. Next, leave a very small number of people behind. Tell them that if anyone tries to attack the canyon, kill them without mercy. Zichen's eyes became cold. Going on like this isn't a solution. If we need to fight to solve this matter, then we'll fight with all our strength. The 7 major forces were able to accept the loss last time because of their deep foundation. I don't believe that the others can accept such a huge loss. After the Lost Clan retreated, Zichen decided to make a move on the other forces. Those forces who hadn't completely retreated to the periphery to watch the show were all stunned on the spot after learning that the Lost Clan had retreated. If the Lost Clan retreated without fighting, wouldn't they have wasted their time and even the opportunity to find an opportunity? For a time, there were countless curses. They could only turn back again. During this time, some forces deliberately used the Holy Thunder Clan as an excuse for betraying the other forces. Some people even argued outside the canyon. Zichen didn't care at all. He drew a line outside the canyon. All those who crossed the line would be regarded as unruly and challenging the dignity of the Holy Thunder Clan. They would be killed without mercy. On the same day, 3 reckless guys were killed. After the forces behind them didn't dare to cause trouble, the voices and people outside lessened a lot. Zichen summoned another group of people to mine. There weren't many people left outside. They were only there to serve as a lookout. After failing to find anything, the people of the other forces finally put their focus on finding opportunities. People from the Thunder Imperial Agency came in batches. They were responsible for the inventory and evaluation of opportunities. They kept a strict and accurate record of every resource that was excavated. Every day, a batch of resources would be sent away. Most of the resources were brought to the Celestial Crystal Mine under the protection of the Core Disciples or the Extreme Core Disciples. They were then transported back to the Moonstar. At the same time, the Holy Spirit stationed on the Moonstar escorted these resources back to the Holy Thunder Clan. The expenses of these people outside were naturally Zichen's. It could be said that apart from the 3 sacred sages, all the expenses of those who served the Lost World were paid for by Zichen alone. Similarly, once the harvest was huge, apart from Zichen's extra share, he would also get a share. In this aspect, The Holy Thunder Clan was never stingy. To Zichen, this was also an excellent opportunity because there were dozens of extreme core disciples who listened to his arrangements. Some of these extreme core disciples also had their own family forces. At the same time, almost all of these core disciples had families supporting them. Therefore, not only did they have dealings with Zichen, but their families also had dealings with Zichen. This time, apart from a few families that were obviously hostile to Zichen, almost all of the other families had been dispatched. In front of such a huge opportunity, no one wanted to miss it. Just as the number of people gradually increased, Grace told Zichen that he had to develop a new land of opportunity. Otherwise, he would suffer some losses from the people who came one after another. At this time, Little Fairy, who had been out for a while, returned. Chapter 41:19. In the world with the power of the Dragon Fiend, Grace personally counted the harvest and handed it over to a holy spirit of the Thunder Imperial clan. The other party took out a teleportation talisman from Little Thunder and left. The power of the Dragon Fiend was too precious and had to be careful. Therefore, this method of teleportation was the safest. The other party returned to the Moon Star with the power of the Dragon Fiend. After that, the power would be handed over to the subordinates specially arranged by the spirit ancestor for review. Then, a core would lead a team to escort them back to the clan. Sometimes, the second ancestor of the spirit lineage would personally take it back. This was because the power of the Dragon Fiend was too important to the Holy Thunder Clan. After the news was leaked, the power of the Dragon Fiend became synonymous with sky-high prices. Many people were secretly inquiring about the channels, wanting to buy it at a high price. Unfortunately, the Holy Thunder Clan had extremely strict control over this power. Other than taking out some as rewards, they had no intention of selling it to the outside world. In the canyon, Zichen watched as a group of escorts left. At first, he thought that as long as he had the lost heavenly crystal, no matter where he was, as long as he set up a teleportation array, he could leave at any time. When he first tried it, it was indeed so. But gradually, Zichen realized that this was not absolute. For example, in this Blood Dragon Canyon, the lost heavenly crystal could not take everyone away. This made Zichen very puzzled, wondering if it was because the distance to the mine was too far. In fact, people outside had also tried it. For example, directly set up a teleportation array in the Holy Thunder Clan to see if they could directly reach the Lost World. In the end, it was not possible. They had to reach the range of the Moon Star. This made Zichen, who wanted to save time and some expenses, disappointed his hopes. He turned his head to look at the elf who had just returned. The other party gestured a number, and the meaning was very obvious. "What? Are you going to ask for 200 this time?" Zichen asked calmly. 20 pieces, the elf said. Zichen laughed when he heard this. "Oh, this isn't your style at all. According to your greedy character, will you lower the level? Cut the crap. You know I won't give you a chance to bargain. Are you giving it or not?" The elf said proudly. "Yes, of course. But not now." Zichen said, "Fu Laro is going back. I have to go to the celestial crystal or vein. Why don't we go together?" "All right, I'll help you reinforce the teleportation portal and give you 20 solar massing crystals," said the little fairy. "Consider it my reward for my hard work this time. The teleportation array still needs to be reinforced." Zichen was a little skeptical. "How fresh. How many of you are here? How are you going to lure so many people back?" The little fairy said sarcastically, "If you're counting on that little summoning teleportation array, I'm afraid it'll take dozens of days for the teleportation array to be completed. Furthermore, the energy of the guiding stone is not limitless. Once the energy is depleted, you won't be able to leave even if you want to." Zichen understood and immediately took out 20 solar massing crystals. This was related to everyone's departure, and it was a big deal. He couldn't afford to be careless. At this moment, he felt that the little elf had the good side of human nature. With a flash of light, the man and the fairy returned to the celestial crystal or vein. After a long period of mining, the celestial crystal or vein had decreased by a lot. The Holy Thunder Clan's inventory had also increased by a lot. Up to now, The Holy Thunder Clan had no intention of selling these celestial crystals. Clearly, they planned to produce and sell them themselves. Zichen was here to send Fu Laro off. After all, the old man had worked very hard during this period of time. Furthermore, Zichen had to discuss with the old man about the return of the sacred talisman masters. The little fairy left alone to search for the unique guiding stones. Fu Laro looked at Zichen and said, "There are still many celestial crystals in the ore vein. If it's just our Holy Thunder Clan, I'm afraid it'll take a long time. Furthermore, we won't be able to find so many people. Once the opportunity here comes to an end and most of the troops choose to retreat, the first thing to lose their value will be these celestial crystals." Zichen nodded and said, "I know that. I'm also considering whether to sell them, but there's no need to be anxious for the time being. The Lost World is still very large. Everyone hasn't even searched a third of the area. Furthermore, we obtained the Blood Dragon Canyon, which made many factions uncomfortable. If we sell the lost celestial crystals now, we will even offend the Holy Moon Clan. It's good that you have your own considerations. Manage it well from now on. This might be the origin of your fortune. In the years to come, it might also be an important stroke in your life." On the day Fu Laro left, Zichen gave Fu Laro 10 solar-massing crystals as an expression of his gratitude. Zichen was very touched that the old man had personally come without any remuneration. These 10 solar-massing crystals could help attract some popularity in the Holy Thunder Clan's Talisman Hall. In fact, Zichen knew that this was just icing on the cake. Once the Hall Master returned, no one in the Holy Thunder Clan would dare to suppress the sacred Talisman Hall. There was no such thing as poaching halfway. This was because the sacred talisman art that the Hall Master had brought out was enough to attract many sacred talisman masters. Although Zichen would not sell the lost celestial crystals for the time being, he would still build the teleportation array in advance. If such a celestial crystal vein was used by the Holy Thunder Clan, who knew how long it would take? When Fu Laro left, he also left with the beckoning stone that the little fairy had found. This was needed for the teleportation array in the outside world. After Fu Laro left, Zichen walked out of the vein and walked around, deliberately investigating the situation in the outside world. There were very few sacred spirits here. After the opportunity was almost mined, everyone headed deeper. Zichen thought of another question. How did the Holy Moon Clan do it? How could they let others leave at any time? After seeing the little fairy, Zichen asked this question. How novel. Of course, it's the function of the beckoning stone. The distance of one stone is limited. If there are more stones, the distance will naturally be further, the little fairy said lightly. Zichen's eyes lit up and he asked directly, "So, as long as there are more beckoning stones, we can directly return to the Moonstar from the Blood Dragon Canyon? How rare. I think it will be done soon." The little fairy glanced at Zichen and gave him a look that said, "You are ignorant." Zichen was very excited because he could save another sum of money this way. Then, he had another bold idea. For example, if there were more beckoning stones, wouldn't everyone in the Holy Thunder Clan be directly teleported here? But before he could say it, he was despised by the little fairy. "Do you think the beckoning stone is a cabbage that can be easily obtained? Let me tell you, the beckoning stone is used up. Once there are no more beckoning stones, none of you can leave." Zichen had to dispel this idea. Then, the little fairy took Zichen to the place that was worth 20 solar-massing crystals. But Zichen felt that there was something wrong because if that place was really only worth 20 solar-massing crystals, the little fairy would not come back. Chapter 41:20. When Zichen went deeper with little fairy, he returned to the canyon. This place was an important resource for the Holy Thunder Clan, so the preparations must be in place. There were already formation masters setting up a teleportation array here that led directly to the celestial crystal mine. Although everyone could leave directly from here, the teleportation between each other was still necessary because they would go deeper and deeper. The entrance to this place could only be the celestial crystal mine. Although building the teleportation array would consume a lot of resources, this kind of investment was still necessary. Zichen had recruited a lot of people this time, and there were talents in all fields, so he didn't need to do it himself. He just needed to give instructions. The teleportation array was being built in an orderly manner. Chen and Little Fairy left the Blood Dragon Canyon. Except for some spies, there were very few people outside the canyon. It seemed that everyone had accepted that the Holy Thunder Clan had obtained a great opportunity this time. The Vestigial Clan didn't launch another attack. They seemed to have approved of Chen's suggestion. But it was also possible that they were planning something. As for the other 7 directions, the battle was still going on. Maybe it was because Chen had taken a good lead, but the leaders of the other 7 directions no longer showed up alone. Every time they appeared, they would bring a group of 3 Vestigial Clan members, not giving other forces a chance to kill them. Relatively speaking, Chen's direction was the safest. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The person who pretended to be the leader last time left. After the other Vestigial Clan members returned, they were still confused because they weren't sure when the team had such a leader. But the other party was a real Vestigial Clan member, so they didn't care too much about it. The Vestigial Clan member who pretended to be the leader returned to the depths and saw the real ruler of this battle. Tse, why are you here? The other party was a little surprised. Tse said, Orton, Ao-san died in battle. Oh. Orton raised his eyebrows. Tse said, the other party only used one move. Orton's expression couldn't help but change. He killed Ao-san with one move? As the leader under him, Orton knew very well how powerful Ao-san was. Even if there were experts among the enemy, they shouldn't be this strong. I've asked them to retreat. As for whether you want to send more people out to kill them, that's up to you. Tess said, the one who killed Ao-san was a leader called Chen. It is said that he came from a place called the Holy Thunder Clan. He wanted to negotiate with Ao-san, but Ao-san wanted to kill him to show his power. What is there to negotiate between us and the invaders? Orton said coldly, this is a battle of life and death. Tess continued, at the time, Chen also said that if we were willing to go to his world, he wouldn't mind providing us with a new base. Uprooted. Orton mocked, our ancient remnant clan is not so weak that we need others to pity us. It's up to you what you think, but I think you still need to understand the current situation. What situation? We must kill all the invaders. Tess shook his head and said, yes, they are invaders, but why don't you think about how they came to our world? This is the will of the heavens. Our mission has been completed. Is this your idea, or the ancient remnant clans? Or the fallen clans? Orton stared at Tess. This is just my personal opinion. You Arcana race people love to fight and are the best warriors in the world. But the current situation has changed, so I think it's best if we restrain ourselves. When he saw that Orton was about to explode in anger, Tess said, sometimes, restraining ourselves isn't called fearing battle. It's called preserving our strength. How many people have you lost after so many years of fighting? After Tess left, Orton fell into deep thought. He wasn't an idiot and could understand the meaning behind Tess' words. Asterisk 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 asterisk. What did you say? Chen stared at the small fairy and said, you said that the resources you discovered were in the ancient remnant clan's territory? That's right, the small fairy said. Otherwise, why would I only charge you 20 soul-gathering crystals? Chen's expression shifted. If the resources were really in the ancient remnant clan's territory, then they would have to force the ancient remnant clan to leave if they wanted to obtain them. But would the ancient remnant clan leave so easily? Would they directly start a war? Then his previous promise would be broken, and there would be no more trust between the two sides. Upon seeing Chen's changing expression, the small fairy said, do you want them? If you don't, then I'll go and devour them myself. Chen said, let's go take a look first. The man and the fairy began to delve deeper. Along the way, Chen would deliberately avoid people from other forces. He didn't want others to know that he had already left the Blood Dragon Canyon. Along the way, Chen would also release his perception to investigate a few places that might contain opportunities. There were a few areas where Chen felt that he might be able to reap some benefits, but after the small fairy's further investigation, he decided to give up. The ore veins were too small. Once they were mined, they wouldn't be able to sustain the losses. And the small fairy had intentionally marked these ore veins so that it could devour them. Without any obstacles, Zichen traveled for 10 days before arriving at the area that the small fairy had mentioned. Are you sure that there are ancient remnant clan members here? Zichen had some doubts because this place was extremely remote, and he couldn't see the slightest path along the way. How could the ancient remnant clan survive in such a place? Even if they weren't human, the living habits of both sides hadn't changed much. The small fairy didn't bother to answer Zichen's question, and just moved forward cautiously. Zichen also held his breath, and at the same time, spread his soul power around. Gradually, he found some unusual auras. There were indeed ancient remnant clans. Cautiously coming to a high ground, Zichen looked ahead and saw a city hidden under a giant tree. Just like in his own world, the city was covered by trees that blotted out the sky and the sun, and even its aura was blocked. If it wasn't Zichen, but someone else, they might not be able to perceive the abnormality here. Such a hidden city should have a large population. What if he could make them migrate? Start a war? Relying on the Holy Thunder Clan's strength alone, he was afraid that they would suffer heavy losses. After observing for a moment, Zichen quietly drew down from the high ground. He took out the holy talisman and formed a simple concealment glyph array. After hiding his figure, Zichen asked, "What's in here?" The small fairy explained, "It's a kind of soul crystal, somewhat similar to the soul-gathering crystal, but the soul power contained in it is not as good as the soul-gathering crystal." Zichen's expression changed. In the Holy Spirit realm, the price of things like souls was extremely high. If there was really a crystal vein here that was second only to the soul-gathering crystal, then the value was indeed high. Is the vein very big? Zichen asked again. After all, this involved a matter of interest. Not small. Chapter 41:21. After Little Fairy's confirmation, the range of this crystal vein was not small. Zichen returned to the high ground again. He looked at the hidden city and fell into deep thought. If it was just an ordinary vein, he would not hesitate to give it up because it might mean initiating a war with the Lost Clan. It was obviously not worth it. However, this was a vein that might be second only to the soul-gathering crystal. Its huge value forced Zichen to think deeply about it, even if he had to take the risk. At first, his plan was to dig deep in other places and then enter from underground, just like when he first discovered the celestial crystal vein. However, this idea was rejected by Little Fairy as soon as it appeared. Because the opportunity was under this city, once it was excavated, it would inevitably cause a great commotion. Little Fairy even guessed that there seemed to be a deeper meaning behind the city's appearance here. This put Zichen in a dilemma. It was obviously impossible to give up. Could he just violate the agreement and directly start a war? At that time, maybe all the Lost Clan would attack the Holy Thunder Clan. At that time, the gains would not make up for the losses. Why don't we give up for the time being? Zichen said, when others come here, these Lost Clan will naturally leave, just like in the periphery. When they were in the periphery, Zichen had encountered a small settlement of the Lost Clan. In the end, as everyone went deeper, the Lost Clan evacuated on their own. What if they don't leave, or someone else gets here first? Little Fairy had her own worries. Zichen said, in that case, why don't you devour a part of it first? Little Fairy rolled her eyes at Zichen. Zichen stayed here for 3 days, but he still had no idea. He didn't even want to go in and explore. After thinking about it again and again, he decided to leave this place first. He had delayed for too long. If he couldn't find other resources to mine, then he would have to bear the losses. After all, during this time, he had gained nothing, but the people of the Holy Thunder Clan had been stationed inside. Just as Zichen was about to leave, a light suddenly flew from the city below. Zichen immediately held his breath and hid. That person appeared in the sky. He looked around and smiled. Since you're here, why don't you show yourself? It was a somewhat familiar voice. Zichen removed his concealment technique and stood up. Standing in the sky was the leader who had ordered the retreat last time. So it's Chief Zi Chen. What brings you here? Do you want to change your mind and attack us? Tess smiled. Zi Chen patted the dust off his body and said, You must be joking. How should I address you, brother? Tess. Tess looked back at the city in the forest and said, Shall we go in and have a seat? Is it convenient? It's convenient, but I'm afraid that Chief Zi Chen won't dare to go. Zi Chen laughed and said, Let's go take a look. Zi Chen followed Tess, heading towards the large city below. This was indeed a city of trees. Furthermore, the surrounding trees had the ability to conceal their auras. After truly entering this place, Zi Chen's perception became even sharper. He discovered that the bereaved living here were all at the level of sacred spirits. Every single one of them. His expression changed. Tess smiled and said, This can be considered one of our secret military bases. Those who live here are all warriors. Chief Zi Chen, you suddenly came here to kill us? Chief Tess must be joking. I also admire the strength of the ancient bereaved, Zi Chen said. Tess immediately shook his head and said, It's one thing for others to say this, but why do I feel ashamed when it comes from Chief Zi Chen's mouth? The two who were supposed to be enemies came to a castle in such a polite manner. Perhaps the surrounding people had been purposely dismissed, but there were only the two of them in the large castle. After taking a seat, Tess said, I won't beat around the bush with Chief and will ask directly. May I know why Chief has come here? Do you really want to destroy our team? Zi Chen looked at Tess and didn't immediately speak. Tess said, Chief, you can just say it. Zi Chen hesitated and said, In that case, I'll tell you the truth. Zi Chen pointed at the ground and said, There are resources we need down there. That's why we came here. That's all. Of course. Tess said, I thought Chief was going to attack us. Zi Chen shook his head and said, How is that possible? I already promised before that I wouldn't take the initiative to start a fight with you. Tess looked at Zi Chen and said, I want to know how Chief will deal with the resources here. Zi Chen said helplessly, What else can we do? Wait. We'll come again after you leave. Perhaps we'll have to fight with others then. Tess said, Then how will you make us leave? What? Zi Chen was stunned. What if we leave and are willing to leave this place to Chief? Tess asked again. That's impossible, right? Zi Chen said, You live here. Why would you leave for no reason? Tess said, Didn't Chief say that we'll have to leave sooner or later? Instead of being forced to flee in the end, wouldn't Chief owe us a favor if we leave now? Zi Chen's expression changed. Are you serious? Tess said seriously, How would I dare joke about this kind of thing? Zi Chen nodded and said, Tell me, what kind of price do you want me to pay? This time, it was Tess's turn to be stunned. Zi Chen said, I believe that you won't do us a favor for free. What do you want me to pay? Or should I say, what do we have to pay? Tess suddenly laughed, and it was a very happy laugh. It's so convenient to deal with smart people. We want to get the truth from Chief Zi Chen. Last time, Chief said that you could arrange for us to go to your living area. Is that true? Zi Chen said without hesitation, Of course it's true. Tess said, There won't be any difficulty or risk. Zi Chen thought for a while and said, In my opinion, there shouldn't be any difficulty or risk. But as for the specifics, we'll have to go back to the clan and discuss it. But it shouldn't be a big problem. Tess said, What if I say that our condition is that Chief has to arrange a new place for those who leave until they're satisfied? Is Chief willing? Zi Chen was very surprised. He didn't expect the other party to make such a request. Or, let our people go to your world and see if that place is suitable for us to live in. Chapter 41:22. For Zi Chen, this seemed to be a great thing because he could get such a great opportunity without paying anything in the early stages. But he didn't agree directly. Instead, he said, This is not a small matter. Can you make the decision? Tse said, I can make the decision for a small matter like retreating. But going to your world is a big matter. I can't make the decision. Zi Chen said, Then find someone who can make the decision. This is not a small matter. We need to be careful. Okay, I'll send a message back immediately. Tse nodded and said, But I'll have to trouble Chief Zi Chen to stay here for a few days. Asterisk 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 3 days later, Zichen waited for that important person to come. But after seeing her, Zichen was very surprised. It was the woman from the Lost Clan who fought with him last time. The other party had a face that was so beautiful that it was flirtatious. She was still wearing tight black clothes, and her movements were clean and nimble. Are you surprised? Tse took the initiative to leave the room. The woman spoke. I'm a little surprised. Zichen nodded honestly. My name is Tasha. I can make the decision for this matter, Tasha said. Zichen nodded again. What's your plan? Tasha said, I'll go with you to the outside world and find a suitable place for us to live. As for the resources here, we can provide some convenience for you. Zichen was puzzled. Why me? Tasha didn't answer the question. Instead, she asked, Are you not trustworthy? Zichen didn't know what she was thinking, but he had a good impression of Tasha, even if she had sneak attacked him. Zichen said, How are you going to leave with me? The other forces may not be happy to see this. Once they know who you are, they may try to kill you. I have my ways, Tasha said. Tasha said, I know a spell that can change my aura and appearance, making it impossible for anyone to find out. Zichen suddenly asked, May I ask why you want to leave? The way Tasha looked at Zichen became strange. The place we're living in is going to be gone soon. Where else can we go? Zichen was a little confused. Once the resources here have all been extracted by you, this world will become a wasteland. If we continue to live here, how long can we last without any resources? Tasha said, and the world you live in is the best place for us to belong. Zichen found it hard to believe. If that was the case, they would have fought the invaders to the death instead of choosing to cooperate. As if she had guessed Zichen's doubts, Tasha continued, I can only represent my faction. There is another faction that is very radical. They will fight to the death. So even if you and I have reached an agreement, we still have to fight here. Of course, you can mine the resources under this city as you wish. Zichen said, We need to occupy this place first before we can go back and discuss this matter with the clan. Is there a need for discussion? Aren't you the leader this time? Don't you have the final say? Tasha asked curiously. There are many people above me. Moreover, this is the first time I have been appointed as the leader. Zichen laughed. Their fighting strength is not as good as yours. Do you still have to listen to them? Tasha asked again. There is the Holy Spirit above the Holy Spirit. My fighting strength is far from enough to make my words carry weight. After Zichen said this, Tasha's eyes lit up. She nodded and agreed directly. Actually, your people don't have to withdraw because we only extract the resources underground. Forget it. If we don't withdraw, there will be a lot of gossip. It will be very bad for us. The matter was agreed. Then Zichen said goodbye and went back to bring people to extract the resources. On the way back, the elf warned, Be careful of what they are up to. You are invaders. If you take them out, they will be invaders. Zichen said, We came here for the opportunity. As for who is the invader, the Holy Spirit should be the one who should worry. The elf said, So, do you really plan to cooperate with them? If I don't agree to such a good thing, won't I be struck by lightning? After leaving a certain range, Zichen used Little Thunder's exclusive teleportation talisman and returned to the Blood Dragon Canyon. He first went to see Grace and asked about the current situation. She said that everything was normal. After Zichen told her that he had found the second land of great opportunity, Grace was happy for Zichen from the bottom of her heart. At the same time, she asked him when he could extract the resources. Zichen replied that he had to see the Holy Spirit first. In the Blood Dragon Canyon, Zichen used the lost heavenly crystal and left the lost world. It seemed that Fu Laro had set up a new teleportation array when he returned. When he arrived at the teleportation array of the Moonstar, everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. When the Holy Spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan saw Zichen, they were very surprised and immediately bowed to Zichen. Zichen waved his hand and motioned for everyone to continue. Then, he went to find the Holy Spirit Master Lei Di. Compared to the last time when the Holy Spirit Master's aura was deliberately released, Lei Di's aura was restrained this time. It could also be seen that the situation had stabilized. After all, the Lost World was big enough, and there were enough opportunities inside. The Holy Thunder Clan had discovered something, and the other forces had also had their own gains. When he saw Lei Di again, the two ancestors of the Spirit Clan and Vane Clan were also there. When they saw Zichen come in, the Vane Clan ancestor said with a smile, "Kid, you're out again. What? Did you find another resource that surprised us?" Zichen said, "No, but there is one thing that needs the Holy Spirit Master's decision." "Oh." Lei Di looked at Zichen and was a little surprised. After all, after he told Zichen about the issue of authority last time, Zichen began to deal with other things on his own. From the looks of it, except for a few interested families, the reputation of Zichen was good. At least, all parties were very satisfied. "Tell me about it." Lei Di was a little curious about what Zichen wanted to say. Zichen told him about Tasha without hiding anything, including the deal between the two sides. Moreover, in the territory of the Holy Spirit Master, Zichen was not worried that someone would eavesdrop. Lei Di's expression gradually changed. The smiles on the faces of the Spirit Clan and Vane Clan ancestors gradually disappeared. It involved the migration of a clan, which was not a trivial matter. According to Zichen's current authority, he really could not make the decision. "Since you've agreed to this matter, what do you think?" After Zichen finished speaking, Lei Di did not immediately give his opinion, but asked for his opinion. Before he came, Zichen had his own ideas in mind, but the matter involved too much, and his words were far from enough. Now, since the Holy Spirit Master asked for his opinion, Zichen certainly said whatever he wanted to say. "I think this is a good thing, because there are many strong people in the Lost Clan. Once they join our Holy Thunder Clan, it will be of great help to the overall strength of our Holy Thunder Clan." Zichen said, "When the Holy Moon Clan attacked the Lost World, they suffered heavy losses, so they chose to openly let everyone in. If we can really accept them, it's equivalent to having a great force comparable to the Holy Clan out of thin air." "That's true, but have you thought about the consequences?" Lei Di said, "Such a great force, once used by us, it will be of great help. But if one day it's not used by us and is used by others, it will be a disaster for our Holy Thunder Clan." The Spirit Clan and Vane Clan ancestors nodded repeatedly. Zichen said, "I haven't considered this issue, nor have I thought deeply about it, because the reason is the same. In our Holy Thunder Clan, there are many big clans. They are usually of great help to us, but what if one day they rebel?" The Vane Clan ancestor said, "That's impossible. They are born and raised in the Holy Thunder Clan. It's impossible for them to rebel." Zichen turned back and said, "I mean, what if they rebel?" The Vane Clan ancestor said proudly, "Then we're not afraid. With the Holy Spirit Master in charge, they won't dare to rebel." Zichen said with a smile, "You see, the reason is the same. With such a strong support, if they really want to rebel, it's not a problem for us to consider, but for the Holy Spirit Master to consider." The Vane Clan ancestor was stunned and then realized that this kid only cared about bringing people and not maintaining stability. He was obviously shirking his responsibility. But after thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be true. There were so many powerful Holy Spirits in the Holy Thunder Clan. What did they need to be afraid of? The Holy Spirits couldn't enter that place now. If they could, they would have conquered it long ago. Lei Di continued to ask, "Then how do you arrange them?" Zichen said, "Give them a suitable area in the Holy Thunder Clan and set it as a forbidden area for the time being. No one from the Holy Thunder Clan is allowed to step in. With the passage of time, the estrangement will eventually disappear. At that time, everyone will be able to accept the existence of the Lost Clan and even coexist peacefully." Lei Di was silent for a moment and said, "Your idea is good, but there are still many problems and details to consider whether it can be implemented or not. There are even many difficulties. Keep working hard." Zichen asked in confusion, "Holy Spirit Master, what do you mean? Do you support me or not?" Without waiting for Lei Di to answer, the Vane Clan ancestor said, "You silly boy, of course we will support you, but our support is not enough. After all, there is still a real leader in the Holy Thunder Clan. If you want to make this happen, you have to ask Lei Zhengke and others. Zichen nodded his head. This was indeed not a small matter, and it required the agreement of many parties. Lei Di said, I will spread some news about this matter and see how the clan's attitude is. As for you, you can go and do your own things first. This is not something that can be done overnight. Zichen said goodbye and left. He didn't go back immediately, but went to monitor various channels and meet those in charge. After Zichen left, the spirit ancestor, who had been silent all this time, said, Will this work? The Vane clan ancestor said, Of course. This is a great thing for the Holy Thunder clan. Besides, with the agreement of the three of us, there will be no problem. Unexpectedly, the spirit ancestor didn't look at the Vane clan ancestor at all, but looked at Lei Di. Lei Di said, Of course not. Not. The Vane clan ancestor's eyes widened and said in disbelief, How is that possible? This is a great thing. You'll know when you see it. Asterisk 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 asterisk. After meeting the leaders and having a meal with everyone under Lei Meng's introduction, Zichen returned to the Lost World again. Lei Wusheng had already prepared a team of 5,000 people for Zichen. Among them, there were 3 core members. Next, Zichen led the team, including Lei Wusheng himself, and went straight into the depths. The Holy Thunder clan once again dispatched a large team, which attracted the attention of many forces. Many spies were silently following them. Along the way, everyone didn't explore the opportunities at all. They just sped up and seemed to have a very clear goal. Some spies gradually found clues and went forward, overtaking the Holy Thunder clan's team. But after discovering the Vestigial clan's base, they stopped and retreated. Obviously, the Vestigial clan's base was right in front of the Holy Thunder clan. Once the two sides met, a battle was bound to break out. The 5,000 people of the Holy Thunder clan might be destroyed because of this. Many people were waiting to watch a good show. But when they were about to meet the Vestigial clan's base, the Holy Thunder clan suddenly stopped. In the eyes of others, it was obvious that the Holy Thunder clan had discovered the existence of the base. But at such a close distance, even if the Holy Thunder clan stopped, it seemed to be of no use. The Vestigial clan inside would definitely kill their way out. But the fact was the opposite. Just when the Holy Thunder clan arrived, the Vestigial clan all retreated and left the base. Then, everyone from the Holy Thunder clan settled in. As the news spread, it caused an uproar. Many people remembered the conversation between Zichen and the Vestigial clan. Did both sides really reach a consensus? No battle broke out between the two sides, and everyone's expectations were disappointed. Soon, news spread that the Holy Thunder clan had made a major discovery under the city. This gave many forces hope. They, who had been constantly fighting, chose the same method as Zichen, and wanted to make peace with the Vestigial clan. But no one knew whether it was because they lacked Zichen's combat power or Zichen's eloquence, but none of the forces succeeded. Instead, large-scale battles broke out one after another. During this period, another all-out battle broke out. The Vestigial clan attacked, and the various forces were beaten back. When they encountered Zichen's force, they would take a detour. The various forces suffered heavy losses, but the Holy Thunder clan was still mining. For a time, all kinds of curses were heard. Not only in the Lost World, but in the Saint Spirit world, such curses also existed. Even the Holy Thunder clan had such voices. Too shameless. As a member of the Holy Thunder clan, I feel ashamed. Why don't we fight the enemy to the death? Why do we ignore the death of our compatriots and compromise with the enemy? Now he wants to bring the enemy back. This is simply wishful thinking. Zichen is leading the wolf into the house. He has ulterior motives and wants to destroy our Holy Thunder clan. All kinds of rumors spread from the Holy Thunder clan. For Zichen, this seemed to be a great thing because he could get a great opportunity without having to pay anything in the early stages. But he did not directly agree. Instead, he said, "This is not a small matter. Can you make the decision?" Tise said, "I can make the decision for a small matter like retreating, but going to your world is a big matter. I can't make the decision." Zichen said, "Then find someone who can make the decision." This is not a small matter, and we need to be cautious. All right, I will send the news back immediately. Tse nodded and said, but for the next few days, I will have to trouble Chief Zichen to continue to stay here. Asterisk 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 3 days later, Zichen waited for that big shot to come. But after seeing her, Zichen was very surprised. It turned out to be the woman from the Lost Clan who fought with him last time. She had a beautiful and flirtatious face and was still wearing tight black clothes. Her movements were clean and nimble. Are you surprised? Tse took the initiative to leave the room, and the woman spoke. I'm a little surprised. Zichen nodded honestly. My name is Tasha. I can make the decision for this matter, Tasha said. Zichen nodded again. What are your plans? Tasha said, I will follow you to the outside world to have a look and find a suitable place for us to live. As for the resources here, we can provide some convenience for you. Zichen was puzzled. Why me? Tasha did not answer the question. Instead, she asked, could it be that you are not trustworthy? Zichen did not know what she was thinking, but he had a good impression of Tasha, even if she had sneak attacked him. Zichen said, how are you going to leave with me? The other forces may not be happy to see this. Once they know your identity, they may try to kill you. I have a way, Tasha said. Tasha said, I know a technique that can change my aura and appearance, making it impossible for anyone to find out. Zichen suddenly asked, may I ask why you want to leave? Tasha looked at Zichen with a strange gaze. The world is about to disappear. Where else can we go? Zichen was a little puzzled. Once the resources here are all extracted by you, this world will be a waste. If we continue to live here without any resources, how long can we last? Tasha said, and the world you are in is the best place for us to belong. Zichen found it hard to believe. If that was really the case, they would have fought the invaders to the death instead of choosing to cooperate. As if she had guessed Zichen's doubts, Tasha continued, I can only represent my faction. There is another faction that is very radical. They will fight to the death. So even if you and I have reached an agreement, we will still have to fight here. Of course, you can extract the resources under this city as you wish. Zichen said, we need to occupy this place first, then we can go back and discuss this with the clan. Is there a need to discuss? Aren't you the leader this time? Don't you have the final say? Tasha asked curiously. There are many people above me. Besides, this is my first time as a leader, and I am appointed by the higher-ups. Zichen smiled. Their fighting strength is not as good as yours. Do you still have to listen to them? Tasha asked again. There are holy spirits above the holy spirits. My fighting strength is far from enough to make me a leader. After Zichen said this, Tasha's eyes lit up. She nodded and agreed. Actually, your people don't need to withdraw because we only mine the resources underground. Forget it. If we don't withdraw, there will be a lot of gossip. This will be very disadvantageous to us. After the matter was agreed upon, Zichen said goodbye and went back to bring people to investigate the place. When he returned, the little elf warned, be careful of what they are up to. You are invaders. If you bring them out, they will be invaders. Zichen said, the purpose of our arrival here is for the opportunity here. As for who is the invader, the one who should be worried should be the Holy Master. The little elf said, so, you really plan to cooperate with them? If we don't agree to such a good thing, won't we be struck by lightning? After leaving a certain range, Zichen used Little Lei's exclusive teleportation talisman and returned to the Blood Dragon Canyon. He first went to see Grace and asked her about the current situation. She said that everything was normal. After Zichen told her that he had discovered the second land of great opportunity, Grace was happy for Zichen from the bottom of her heart. At the same time, she asked him when he could start mining. Zichen replied that he had to meet the Holy Master first. In the Blood Dragon Canyon, Zichen used the lost heavenly crystal and left the lost world. When he arrived at the teleportation array of Luna, everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. When the holy spirits of the Holy Thunder Clan saw Zichen, they were very surprised and immediately bowed to Zichen. Zichen waved his hand and gestured for everyone to continue. Then, he went to look for Holy Master Lei Di. Compared to the last time, when the Holy Master deliberately released his aura, Lei Di's aura was restrained this time. It could be seen that the situation had stabilized. After all, the Lost World was big enough, and there were enough opportunities in it. When the Holy Thunder Clan discovered something, other forces also had their own gains. When he saw Lei Di again, the two ancestors of the Spiritual Clan and Pulse Clan were also there. When they saw Zichen come in, the Pulse Clan ancestor said with a smile, "Kid, you're out again. What's the matter? Did you find something that surprised us again?" Zichen said, "No, but there is one thing that needs to be decided by the Holy Master."
Oh.
Lei Di looked at Zichen and was a little surprised. After all, after he told Zichen about the issue of authority last time, Zichen began to deal with other things on his own. From the current point of view, except for a few families, the reputation of Zichen was good. At least, all parties were very satisfied. "Tell me about it." Lei Di was a little curious about what Zichen wanted to say. Zichen told him about Tasha. During this time, he did not hide anything, including the deal between the two sides. Moreover, in the territory of the Holy Master, Zichen was not worried about someone eavesdropping. Lei Di's expression gradually changed. The smiles on the faces of the two ancestors of the Spiritual Clan and Pulse Clan gradually faded. It involved the migration of a clan, which was not a trivial matter. According to Zichen's current authority, he really did not have the authority to make the decision. "Since you've agreed to this matter, I wonder what your opinion is." After Zichen finished speaking, Lei Di did not immediately give his opinion, but asked for his opinion. Before coming, Zichen had his own ideas in mind, but the matter involved too many things, and his words were far from enough. Now, since the Holy Master asked for his opinion, Zichen would certainly say whatever he wanted to say. "I think this is a good thing, because there are many strong people in the Lost Clan. Once they join our Holy Thunder Clan, it will be of great help to the overall strength of our Holy Thunder Clan." Zichen said, "When the Holy Moon Clan attacked the Lost World, they suffered heavy losses, so they chose to let everyone enter. If we can really accept them, it's equivalent to having a big force comparable to the Holy Clan out of thin air." "That's true, but have you thought about the consequences?" Lei Di said, "Such a big force, once used by us, it will be of help. But if one day it's not used by us and is used by others, it will be a disaster for our Holy Thunder Clan." The two ancestors of the Spiritual Clan and Pulse Clan nodded repeatedly. Zichen said, "I haven't thought about this problem, and I haven't thought about it too deeply, because the principle is the same. There are many big clans in our Holy Thunder Clan, and they are usually of help to us. But what if one day they rebel?" The ancestor of the Pulse Clan said, "That's impossible. They are the native people of the Holy Thunder Clan. It's impossible for them to rebel." Zichen turned back and said, "I mean, what if they rebel?" The ancestor of the Pulse Clan said proudly, "Then we are not afraid. With the holy sages in charge, they won't dare to rebel." Zichen said with a smile, "You see, the principle is the same. With such strong support, if they really want to rebel, it's not a problem for us to consider. It's for the holy sages to consider." The ancestor of the Pulse Clan was stunned and then realized that this kid only cared about bringing people and not maintaining stability. He was obviously shirking his responsibility. But thinking about it carefully, it seemed that it was true. There were so many powerful holy sages in the Holy Thunder Clan, so what did they need to be afraid of? The holy sages could not enter that place now. If they could enter, they would have already taken it. Lei Di continued to ask, "Then what are you going to do with them?" Zichen said, "Give them a suitable area in the Holy Thunder Clan and temporarily set it as a forbidden area. No one from the Holy Thunder Clan is allowed to enter. With the passage of time, the estrangement will eventually disappear. At that time, everyone will be able to accept the existence of the Lost Clan and even coexist peacefully." Lei Di was silent for a moment and said, "Your idea is really good, but there are still many problems and details to consider whether it can be implemented or not. There are even many difficulties. Continue to work hard." Zichen asked in confusion, "Holy sages, what do you mean? Do you support me or not?" Without waiting for Lei Di to answer, the ancestor said, "You silly boy, of course we will support you, but our support is not enough. After all, the Holy Thunder Clan still has a real leader. If you want to make this happen, you have to ask Lei Zhengke and others." Zichen nodded. This was indeed not a small matter, and it needed the agreement of many parties. Lei Di said, "I will spread some news about this matter and see how the clan's attitude is. As for you, you can go and do your own things first. This is not something that can be done overnight." Zichen bade farewell and left. He did not go back immediately, but went to monitor the various channels and meet the leaders in charge. After Zichen left, the spirit ancestor, who had been silent all this time, said, "Can this be done?" "Of course it can. This is a great thing for the Holy Thunder Clan," said the spirit ancestor. "Besides, with the agreement of the three of us, there will definitely be no problem." Unexpectedly, the spirit ancestor did not look at the spirit ancestor at all, but looked at Lei Di. Lei Di said, "Of course it won't work." "It won't work?" The spirit ancestor's eyes widened and he said in disbelief, "How is that possible? This is a great thing. You'll know when you see it. After meeting the leaders and having a meal with them under Lei Meng's introduction, Zichen returned to the Lost World again. Lei Wusheng had already prepared a team of 5,000 people for Zichen. Among them, there were 3 core members. Next, Zichen led the team, including Lei Wusheng himself, and went straight into the depths. The Holy Thunder Clan once again dispatched a large team, which attracted the attention of many forces. Many spies were silently following them. Along the way, everyone did not explore the opportunities at all. They just sped up and seemed to have a very clear goal. Some spies gradually found clues and then went forward, overtaking the Holy Thunder Clan's team. But after discovering the Vestigial Clan's encampment, they stopped and retreated. Obviously, the Vestigial Clan's encampment was right in front of the Holy Thunder Clan. Once the two sides met, a battle was bound to break out. The 5,000 people of the Holy Thunder Clan might be destroyed because of this. Many people were waiting to watch a good show. But when they were about to meet the Vestigial Clan's encampment, the Holy Thunder Clan suddenly stopped. In the eyes of others, it was obvious that the Holy Thunder Clan had discovered the existence of the encampment. But at such a close distance, even if the Holy Thunder Clan stopped, it seemed to be of no use. The Vestigial Clan inside would definitely kill their way out. But the fact was the opposite. Just when the Holy Thunder Clan arrived, the Vestigial Clan all retreated and left the encampment. Then, all the members of the Holy Thunder Clan entered the encampment. As the news spread, it caused an uproar. Many people remembered the conversation between Zichen and the Vestigial Clan. Did the two sides really reach a consensus? No battle broke out between the two sides, and everyone's expectations were disappointed. Soon, news spread that the Holy Thunder Clan had made a major discovery under the city. This gave many forces hope. They, who had been constantly fighting, chose the same way as Zichen, and wanted to make peace with the Vestigial Clan. But no one knew whether it was because they lacked Zichen's combat power or Zichen's eloquence, but none of the forces succeeded. Instead, large-scale battles broke out one after another. During this period, another all-out battle broke out. The Vestigial Clan attacked, and the various forces were beaten back. When they encountered Zichen's forces, they would take a detour. The various forces suffered heavy losses, but the Holy Thunder Clan was still mining. For a time, all kinds of curses were heard. Not only in the Lost World, but in the Holy Spirit realm, such curses also existed. There were even such voices in the Holy Thunder Clan. This is too shameless. As a member of the Holy Thunder Clan, I feel ashamed. Why didn't we fight the enemy to the death? Why did we ignore the death of our compatriots and compromise with the enemy? Now they want to bring the enemy back. This is simply wishful thinking. Zichen is leading the wolf into the house. He has ulterior motives and wants to destroy our Holy Thunder Clan.